Good morning and welcome to the live stream. I know we're a little bit late. I had some daddy duty a lot last night. We had some random hailstorms that got pretty bad last night, so I wasn't able to do anything. I wasn't even able to make my ranges for myself for today. So we're actually going to just be looking at stocks from kind of the rawness here, and then next week we'll still do those daily expected moves for all the stocks that we cover on this channel. I'm sorry it turned out that way, but we tried to come home early and then the hail picked up, so we couldn't really move without seeing our windshield get completely cracked. But thank you guys still for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you're looking for a little breakdown towards the end of this stream, then we're going to do that most likely going on into the last 15 minutes. So if you're not watching this live as of right now, make sure to come back and just click forward to the last 15 minutes there, because we're going to do a breakdown. We love the breakdowns. I muted. I said, hey, I said happy Friday. No sound. Sorry. I said happy Friday. I'm sorry I don't have the levels for you guys today. It was kind of a rough evening. I think I was up till about almost 3:30 last night. So you can see I just woke up and I was like, okay, I got to give myself a sec before we go live this morning. So I'm sorry I don't have those levels for you today, but hopefully you enjoy hanging out. We can pay attention to a lot of things here. Starting to poke out of this wedging again here. And good morning, Junior. Good morning, 8 Chai. Good morning, Trade Automation Systems. I don't know. You sound like AI to me. But thank you guys for showing up. Really appreciate it. Try to like this thing so people see it, because I am a little bit late today. Something I was paying attention to on the Qs was a 30-minute divergence here, seeing if they would form one at this point. We haven't seen that fade down yet. I wanted to double check something real quick here. I'm going to actually do this. Do a separate window if I can. That's the easier way to do it, guys. I'm on one right now. What the heck is this? I literally, this is how I'm going to be all day. I'm going to forget what I'm doing all day and do stuff like that, because I am a little sleepy. Okay, let's read into this. Unemployment rate ticking up. That is interesting. And then non-farm payrolls higher than the previous brought way down to 229. And then the non-farm payrolls for this month, 275. So that's interesting. You could say one's good, one's bad. And when you're in a positive trend, people are going to focus on the good, right? They're going to think of more reasons to go higher. You're still in a positive mood. I'm really looking for some divergences here. These were some good trades we caught throughout the week. We thought this would happen. Now we thought this would happen. We said we could go make a new high up in here before we actually crashed down. We were expecting that trap somewhere in this area, I would say, somewhere where this gap fill was, all the way up into some kind of point of divergence in the future. So looking at Apple, I know this thing started to turn around. This thing can get some room here. It's sold off for a long time, but all it has to do is roll over anytime. You see that the MACD here is in negative territory. It's out of oversold conditions now. So if we did see another drop here, we're able to break this low, curl over this MACD. Good shot. We're heading lower on Apple. Amazon. This is the trade I wish I kept yesterday. I knew it was going to happen. God dang it. I read the signals right, and I broke even on it pretty much because this wicking in here, thought maybe it wanted to go the other way, but I should have stayed strong, but that's okay. I made good money this week. So going forward, this up here is where I'm expecting the trap, right at the gap fill for Amazon. Doesn't mean it has to happen, but this would be a nice little head and shoulders you got in here, a little slanted there. Tesla, good reaction up. This is actually what you want. This is completing the cup. Now you can get that handle. You actually can't hold higher. So this is really what I'm paying attention to as of right now for Tesla, just because it's kind of back and forth. You don't necessarily have a ton of structure on the 30-minute, but you do have it. This could be a little handle at the end here. Maybe we start to head higher, then you can complete the big handle, then you can start to head higher. So if you don't think some of these stocks can't join in and get bullish and we can't go higher, be very careful, because we're seeing signals like this. Now, this is structure, but the signal is telling you, hey, this thing is still in negative territory. If it wants to roll over right here, boy, stop. If it wants to roll over right here, guess what? It's going to be rolling over in negative territory. Most likely we're taking out this low. We're probably heading towards that 154, and that daily is still crossed on the MACD, so to the downside. NVIDIA seeing a huge pop here. I was you're kind of expecting it, because we had this wedging that went way back that kind of came up into this area. What do? We gap above that area, right? We skip it as resistance, and then we head higher. So now we do have that shot to head higher, maybe even 1,000 on this. Really want to pay attention to this 900 level by end of day still, because we have a lot of calls up here. Maybe those people at 1,300 knew something we didn't know. There's that. I mean, they might be up on it right now, but 1,300 calls, we kind of hold that up in the last live video. Holy crap. There was a lot of 1,300 calls. AMD, this is kind of the late reaction one that I was overall going to pay attention to, and it's going to set up a triple divergence, possibly outside of the weekly. Yeah, there's like 24,000 calls at 1,300, which I thought was interesting. But this overall is looking for some kind of divergences in here, but this one was the 2-hour, was where I was looking for that curl up. Look, we're going to get that curl up. We actually could see this positivity fade very, very soon. I'm just going to tell you that now. Going into next week, going into a piece of data like this, we actually see that the unemployment rate ticking up. Okay, the unemployment rate ticking up. That is the good sign of distress in the overall market. We can see some of these defaults start to go through, delinquencies go up, and things like that. So that's your first thing. CPI next week is going to be very, very interesting. Ivan, I'm sorry about your 1K loss. Hey, you can bring it back. You just got to be tactical with it moving forward. I lost some today too. Don't worry, I'm right there with you. I lost some today too, but I was able to make some throughout all this price action, right? So this one, this one, this one, and this one here, I was able to make money throughout all that. Actually, not so much this one. This one here, I kind of got scared out of right around here, so they shook me out. Apple's still getting a strong reaction, even on this 2-hour, able to cross, so we can see some kind of bounce here. Good morning, Frank. Meta, one that we have the weekly expected move for, hitting the top side of that right now. We can see that rejection coming in. So this is a pretty important trend right here. This is connecting between the big highs that Meta has had. And look at that, we're coming up into that weekly expected move. We see that resistance a little bit there. Let's see if we see another resistance point here. This actually divergence in the very near price action on the 2-hour is signaling that, momentum's really dying out in Meta unless we see that really start to explode. That would be a parabolic move at that point. So it's already pretty parabolic. Like, you can't say it's not, right? We can't say these aren't parabolic moves because, well, let's just see where we were at a couple years ago. A couple years ago, we were down at the price point of $85, $86. Now we're up towards $520. Yeah, that's a parabolic move. So we can see this go a little higher if this daily is able to cross up. We could probably get outside of our monthly expected move for Meta. Wouldn't necessarily expect that at this point, but I have to be open to it because this thing has still been bullish. It's been relentless to the upside. Good morning, born to win. I feel like I sing your name every time you come in. This divergence here is really what I'm paying attention to, though. It would actually be you know, we're right in the middle of our zone. It'd actually be a good sign next week if we see this actually sell off by end of day, come down into this area even, because then our weekly expected move would most likely move down. Our weekly expected move could move down to here. Then your weekly expected move can move up to here. So this could consolidate and actually head one more time higher, and then we see that drop off before CPI breaking through that weekly expected move. That would be interesting. It'd also be interesting if we just see selling come in, or just keep seeing the buying come in, and we do something like this and right before CPI gets released. It's next Tuesday, so that's the next thing you need to pay attention to. Jerome Powell, overall, we were stating how he was saying, still very dependent on the data. We knew he was going to be very kind of like, what is it, vague, focusing on data with a dovish tone. That's exactly what we got. So we totally expected that. And this is the trap that I was overall looking for. And it's just, if people are just a little bit bullish, we're going to see that trap at the gap fill. If they're still bullish even further after this, well, then we're going to see that trap most likely set up that divergence up in this area. So open to both. I need to... How do we like the camera? The camera's looking good. All right, here we go. Let's look for some stuff going on today. Meta reaching that crazy high up there. Let me see if I want to move anything around at this point. You know what's funny? I do have a put on Meta now. I took it yesterday, and now it's still blowing past, going up towards that weekly. So I took it somewhere around here on Meta, and then now it's blowing up to this area, which is perfectly fine. I took a position trade here on Meta, but what I'm overall thinking here is this hasn't lost much value on Meta for me, so that's a pretty interesting sign. I know what I'm doing here. I'm just getting myself positioned pretty good here. All right. We are all set. Any suggestion on the S&P? S&P really want to pay attention to. This is the parabolic move. You see it break into the upside. You're expecting a break here. Now, overall, you just want to pay attention to right up in this area, right in between this area as well. If we start to get into this area, this is kind of our big sell area, but we could head a little bit higher here. Don't be surprised by any of this. We just said, hey, there's going to be something going on up here that might lead us to some downturn. Now, that doesn't have to happen. We can keep going and get some kind of short divergence up in here right before CPI. I'm just really going to pay attention to CPI. I'm really paying attention to any kind of bad news that comes out, because we are so overextended that any piece of bad news can stop you from getting structure even here. It can actually cause you to get that structure a little bit lower, seeing something a little more sudden buy back up. Now this is a 30 minutes, so that might extend over some time. You might see some bumps in the road, right? Boom, come down, break through here, get a little bump here, and then you start to head lower, break through that gap. Then you come down maybe into the monthly here, which is why it's good to have those monthly ranges. And that's where we start to see some kind of pop up. And then by the end of the month, we're actually ending down in this area. That would be a good sign that we're going to see lower prices. But this is a 30-minute chart. It can play out 100 different ways. But I would just say trying to call the top and be like, oh, I'm going to take a position for next week. That's very difficult. So I overall am taking, month out plays and things like that till I see some kind of pullback and I'm convinced this can go higher again. I'm just chilling. But yeah, SPY really looking for some kind of turnaround over here. If we go look at like a 2 hour or something, you're going to see triple divergence. But you don't necessarily have that triple divergence on the RSI, which is fine. You have it on one, and then you have one in the nearest price action for the RSI if we're able to turn around somewhere in this area up here. This right here was really where I was paying attention for some resistance. We're blowing past that. That's perfectly fine. You still have this 2 hour divergence. 2 hour triple divergence likes to roll around the daily. We start to roll around this daily, we can see how overextended we are. We can see all the divergence we do have up here. See all the divergence we do have down here. If we are able to fully roll over this daily, I think one more time, we're going to see some kind of pullback in this market. And it might be just more dramatic. Now, around this area is where we have to pay attention, see if that's going to turn around and base out, right? If that's going to keep going, we'll follow the signals if that does happen. But for now, you have another point of divergence setting up. Really think we have a couple days left in this market, to be honest. But that is my opinion. You still want to follow the price action, guys. You don't want to just hear some guy on the internet say it and then you go, oh, yeah, I'm doing all this. You really just want to be aware of it, and then when it happens, when you see that stuff confirmed, then you can make your move. I'm just doing a little bit before, trying to get good price, but if this thing wants to eat my stuff away over a little bit of time, I can re-enter a position later. I could even sell out of this, get back in if I see this curl back up in positive territory, right? If this curls down and curls back up, I can say, okay, this is curling back up. It could get another high here. So maybe I get out and get back in. Doing a month out allows me to do a lot of those things, but calling a big crash every week or trying to do that from a position standpoint is too difficult. You guys know I was bullish at some point this week. Still pretty much today. Something I want to do for fun, I might look at NVIDIA's calls again, show you guys that. I just want you guys to see that call sheet. See if that thing grew last night. Oh, it did. Oh, no, it actually didn't. So that's interesting that it didn't grow at all. This would actually tell me this might be a big fish. Because if this didn't grow at all from yesterday, then the retail traders aren't necessarily in it. This is probably a few big fish. Not adding to a position, just happy with it right now. But we're going to run into that $1,000 call wall soon on NVIDIA. This thing just keeps going up. You're looking for a break to the downside upside with this wedging. You're getting the break to the upside. See if that's fading by the end of the day. But right now, nothing about this is bearish. The only thing bearish is, holy crap, we are overextended. We still have this divergence across here. If we want to turn around soon, like today, don't have that on the MACD. You don't have that on the MACD at all. So this thing is just tearing up. The 2 hours, what I'm going to pay attention to for the most part. Just see if this thing's able to roll over. If this thing's able to roll over, I think it's going to get a solid pullback. As long as that's maybe even down to something like 841. And then we can see from there if it curls back up, then we could be getting a more sustained bounce. But if we don't and we kind of reject, that's what I'd more look for on NVIDIA. But when NVIDIA does sell off, pull back, whatever, the overall market will pull back more dramatically. But good morning. Welcome, welcome. Watching some stocks today. Not a bad day. Now, the yields were something I really wanted to pay attention to. It hit my target, 4.062. Notice that we can't break below that. We can't sell, or we can't get a reading below that at this point. That would break us through this. This would be the market saying flight to safety. So if we start to see something break right now, we can see big flight to safety over the next few weeks. But we're not necessarily seeing that just yet. I actually think this has another push left in it. Something I was paying attention to on the dollar. I had some flagging going on here. We're getting that dip a little bit lower. So that's going to be interesting to pay attention to. See if this is able to get back in this flagging by end of day. But right now, you see that we broke through that 2 times. So you really need this to get back in this flagging to head up. You think it's going to fall in the last hour. So you think there might be like a profit taking kind of sell off at the end of the day. The 2 hour up here did cross for the VIX. We saw pretty good structure actually for the VIX on the way down. And thank you so much for liking the stream. Really appreciate it. But we saw this actually get some structure, right? We break down, we retest that triangle, and then we head lower. Now we're trying to base out at our last low, just above it actually. So if we get a slightly higher low here, that would be interesting. As of right now, though, we got that to cross. I wanted to see if that creates some point of divergence between right here. So that's really what I was paying attention to, seeing if this could actually dip a little bit lower, get some kind of double bottom, or even come down and fill this gap at 13. I don't think that that would be too far off, and then you would set up that next point of divergence pretty close to that positive territory, ready to roll up one more time right before Tuesday. So the dollar moving down is a good sign that more people are getting in, but it's coming into a point where we could see a huge, huge bounce. Something to pay attention to, TLT hitting its upper area up here wasn't able to break through this week. So if I zoom out a little bit, you're seeing TLT come up into its trend. It's not able to break through at this point. The 10-year is actually at a point of big support. So we could see that continue downward here. All that would do for you, maybe we create some kind of daily divergence in the near future. This would be, this curls back over. We see that divergence form here, and then this might be where kind of all the gloves get popped off. You have a read on CPI next week. Not necessarily, you just have to say, hey, it's trailing up. PCE was trailing up a tiny bit. Actually, PCE came in as expected, right? So, or it was like a little bit higher. I might have to double check that in a little while. But CPI ticking up one time in a month, you know, we saw some profits in a lot of these stocks. You can see that CPI tick up again, and that might be the catalyst. So at this point, you'd have to say from a fundamental perspective, if you think that it's going to happen in March, you would definitely say that it's going to be the catalyst. Now, the only thing that's worrisome is you have a lot of stocks that are already outside of its monthly range, okay? So the SPY is approaching it. So this means this is all the market has put in for upside to the SPY here. So then the Qs as well, getting up towards it. We can get even closer on the Qs, right? It's kind of behind a little bit. Apple, its monthly range, we can actually pull that up, just kind of read into it, see if it's outside of it or whatever, because if you do want it, join the Patreon, guys. And I'm going to start doing a, if I can figure it out, I'm going to do a live only for Patreon, I think, every Friday in the last hour of trading. So that would be for Patreon members only, and we can look at what is happening at the end of the week, see what we can formulate for the week ahead, the following week. That'd be something fun, I think. So we might do that on Patreon if I can figure it out. So good time to join the Patreon. Monthly for Apple, I believe I said it was well outside of it, and it is. It is still outside of it. It's actually running into it right now. So I'm just going to tell you guys, it's running into it right now. So when you break through one of those monthly zones, you can use it as resistance on the way down. And a lot of the time, what did we say? When you see this crash off, what do you want to happen? Well, you want to reconnect with that 5. This is a 5 right now. How can you reconnect with that? We kind of said it on Tesla. It can just move sideways, reconnect, and then start riding that thing down even lower. So that's something to pay attention to. But if you get a good reaction here, you can come all the way up into another moving average, right? The 20, see that pop up into this zone and then break back down, break through, pop up, break back down. That can definitely happen. Going over into Amazon, to the upside, you still have some upside left on Amazon here. You have about 10 points, so you can go a little bit higher, maybe touch this point between these two highs or something like that, all the way up in here around 185. So that's something to pay attention to. Tesla's to the downside here. It's running into its resistance and got rejected from it, okay? So Tesla here actually running into, getting a bounce, but running into that weekly or that monthly expected move, just going a little bit inside of it by a few points, and then seeing that reject, not fully below it again as of right now. So we'll have to see what happens from there. Now, one thing on Tesla I wanted to mention is there is divergence here. Okay, there's divergence here, so we have the potential for these stocks to start to participate, and we can see the market go higher. I want you to be very aware of that. If these signals start to confirm, that would not be good. Now, I'm not necessarily leaning towards that. NVIDIA to the upside. This is way outside of its monthly expected move at this point. You'd have to say the most likely by the end of the month, whether this thing keeps going or not, most likely will be below this 864 level by the end of the month. So we most likely will see some kind of pullback. Will that pullback be dramatic and then we start to stair step down, or will that be dramatic and we start to base out and we curl back up in positive territory? That's what we'll look for in the future. AMD to the upside here. Pretty much 217 is the level that we want to pay attention to the hardest. So it is outside of its monthly expected move. It's outside of its weekly. So you would say today there is a 68% chance because this didn't go parabolic. Okay, so NVIDIA, this is the weekly expected move. When you go outside of the weekly expected move, you can use it as support, go higher, see something crazier happen. That's what's happening with NVIDIA. AMD, this isn't the craziest thing. We're coming a little bit above the weekly expected move. We're a little bit above the monthly expected move now. We can see that drop back down. 68% chance that this kind of fades today. But you want to pay attention to the signals. You haven't seen this 30-minute rollover yet. God damn, that was a lot of talking. Apple will bounce back perfectly fine. Totally get it. Even I am trapped today. Hey, I'm trapped. One of my trades got trapped, and that's okay. Happens to all of us. It's perfectly fine. But my other trades were really good this week, so that means overall, I think I was 4 for. Well, I guess that one of them I broke even, so I guess it would be 5 for 6. I took a lot of trades this week. I normally don't do that. Normally I take 1 to 2 a week, but this week I took I think it was 5 out of 6 played out or broke even. So one of them broke even, 4 played out to the upside, giving me some gains, and 1 red down. But I'll try to get better at making them a little bit earlier. I just got stuck in a little bit of a storm, and then I had to watch baby girl till about 3 a.m. So it was nice though. She was very, very good. She just has had gas like a trucker lately, and she's not happy these days. I wouldn't be happy either if I was having those big farts. Now, one thing you can pay attention to, the Dow not confirming any of these moves higher at this point. That's something you can read into, but you do have structure if it wants to head up. Right now in a negative trend if this rolls over, but the Dow, you could see this head higher, right? There is a way to head higher on everything. Any Fed announcements new this week? Really, the thing with the Fed that I'm paying attention to is how they're talking about things. Notice that they're not saying 3 rate cuts anymore. They're just saying we will cut something by the end of the year. That's kind of interesting. I would say that tone, that's a shift in tone. Still saying after all of this rate raising, after all of this craziness, after everything we've been through, saying that, now we most likely they're not saying 3 rate cuts every time. Um, and then also seeing CPI and things like that tick up. The fact that they're saying they're not in control of inflation right now, or they don't feel like they are, that is a big warning sign in the overall market, especially when CPI is around the corner. So we'll have to see if any fading comes throughout the day today. Gabo, what's up? Now, there were some points from Jerome Powell talking yesterday I wanted to talk about. One of them that I really wanted to talk about, pretty much, I just wanted to talk about the central bank digital currency. Okay, so Jerome Powell got asked about central bank digital currency. What do you guys think about the central bank digital currency? What do you guys think, first off? Now, the first thing he said, don't worry about it, guys. It's so far off. It's so far off. It's insane. That would tell me a little something different. I really think that. And Fernando, thank you so much for subscribing. Appreciate you, buddy. It's so far off. It kind of gives me the feeling of like, not to say he's lying to us or something like that. It's just like, is it that far off? We see the money supply where it's at right now. We see the deficit where it's at right now. Is it that far off? And then at the same time, we can. He pretty much said we can spy on you if we did the central bank. If and the reason that they could, and the reason that they might not be as worried about smaller banks failing is because if these small to medium sized banks start to fail, then the big banks would have to absorb them. That would allow the government to then have a better way to just watch everyone's money, what they're doing with their money, get them for taxes. We all know the IRS, they're starting to not go for big fish, and they're starting to say, hey, if you make $200 by picking it up on the road, you need to put that in your taxes. That's kind of crazy to me. But he overall said, we can spy on you, but we wouldn't do that. And that's actually what he said. And I was like, I am banking on the fact that if he's not going to spy on us, someone is. Someone is. Whether it's the government itself, whether it's the Fed, whoever, someone very most likely is. Dillavar, thank you so much for subscribing. Look at that guy bouncing on the screen. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the price gouging at the grocery store. So that was a big point when related to inflation. We saw, hey, price gouging. They're pushing the price rapidly up in food prices, I think is what they were talking about. So if inflation is coming up at this level, most of the time what you'll see is a lot of the time these businesses have them like this, and you'll see that crossover where they start to see that loss in margin. What they do is they see, hey, inflation is ticking up, so we need to tick up the price higher than inflation to stay above it. So you'll see a huge increase in price, and then that will remain going up as long as inflation continues to go up at that rate. Now, those prices haven't come down yet. We talked about the reason those prices haven't come down. That's overall why you get price gouging. They try to get ahead of the inflation curve that is starting to tick up so that they can, make sure that their company is making money the whole way up. So that's something pretty interesting. Now, the problem that can happen actually is on the supply side. So that would mean that if I'm selling tires and tires are getting inflatedly more expensive, well, if I know they're going to most likely be more expensive way over here, right? I know inflation's most likely going to get up to here, and I'm sitting right at this level. Well, I might increase my supply, buy a bunch of that product, and then sell the price a little bit higher before that even reaches there. So what that does is now you have companies that are sitting on a bunch of supply. It's bad with companies where it can go bad, but if you're also sitting on, product that can't go bad, well, now all these tires are sitting in a warehouse. You increased your supply to catch up, and then you still raise the prices. Now you are going to have a big supply issue. That's usually what happens, and then they have to sell discounted product. Discounted product means less value going forward in the stock, less revenue, less growth. Those were the two things that I really was paying attention to. A lot of it wasn't softball, but I would say much softer than what you would expect. A lot of just, oh no, video's frozen. Hope not. All right, try to reload because I have it up on my left screen here and it's working pretty good. Make sure to like, guys. 28 likes. We could do a little better than that. We could do. Yeah, just reload it real quick. Email. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's overall how price gouging works. Is they up the price to go ahead of inflation, so they know they're going to make their margin a lot of the time. And then they actually, the big mistake is increasing your supply too much. They increase their supply too much. That can mean that they have a whole warehouse. And if you go into a recession where, say, unemployment goes up, well, if I bought 1,000 couches to sell, right? I bought a big supply of couches, and then everyone loses their job and they can no longer afford that couch, right? People start to go into a recession period. Well, then my sales will come down, meaning I have to probably sell this much, much cheaper, or people just are never going to buy it. My profit, my revenue is going to really suffer. So because I'm just sitting with this on my books up here while nobody can purchase it. So that's why you really don't want to see that uptick in unemployment. What did we see today? We saw an uptick in unemployment. So unemployment goes up. What do you think sales of couches do? They go slightly down. Okay, so this is where the supply issue can come in. Yo, I've been thinking of that phrase a lot, Sammy. Sell in May and go away. This could extend all the way up until then. This could extend all the way up until October. We could see some kind of, slight correction here, and then actually see all this stuff go higher till October, which was my first assessment. I just saw where we're at, and I said, hey, this really looks like the timeline could be sped up. I still believe that even now. I really think if CPI is going to come out hot or something like that, we could see this drop dramatically. Now, will that drop just be some kind of overall pullback to head higher? That's what we'll talk about on this channel every day, right? We're here to tell you, is this going to continue? Well, if we start to get structure at higher levels, most likely you're going to see some kind of bounce. And then if we get some kind of right shoulder over here, left head, right shoulder, you really want to pay attention here. Is this actually rolling over? Is it breaking through this base? Because this could be rolling up. If that crosses up on the daily chart, then you'd say, hey, this can go test the high again. It really can. So you want to be careful around those types of areas. You can get higher pushes in these. But I totally understand the sell and may go away crowd. Totally. Did you guys miss me not putting out a video last night? Be honest. Were you guys like, damn, wish Lucas could have put out a video last night? There was stuff to talk about too. Going into today, there's some stuff to talk about. A lot of stocks that look like they could bounce higher. Hello, baby. Not you. Why is Dow not going up as much? Well, that's a signal we pay attention to. If the Dow is not following the overall market, usually that's a sell signal. It's a signal of weakness, not necessarily a sell signal. I guess from the investment side of things, you could say it's a sell signal because you're expecting, hey, the Dow's not meeting up to the SPY. The Qs are just now starting to meet up with the SPY. This can head higher, right? It has room. Nothing here telling you it has to turn around. Just overbought. Need anything? When's your appointment? Yo, driving to Memphis, that'd be crazy. Yeah, this is a signal you can pay attention to right now. The SPY heading to higher levels, the Dow not able to do that, right? The SPY doing this, the Dow overall doing this, or the SPY more did this and then came up now. This is just slightly fallen off here. You got triple divergence across, well, you have divergence across the board. Yeah, I guess this would be triple divergence here. So you have triple divergence. Look how close that is to getting to negative territory. NVIDIA is crazy. We talked about that $1,000 number. we said this is where it could squeeze above 900. So we did expect this, okay? We said this throughout the week. We said this on Monday that 900 was going to be very important. 900 very important. Well, let's go into a shorter time frame here. Look, I'll show you. Okay, 900 very, very important. So this 900 level here, what did we do yesterday? And this is a big hint, okay, for bullishness. This is a very big hint that things are going to get bullish. Where did we gap above on this bar right here? Bitcoin hit 70K. Nice. Oh man, we have this is peak euphoria. My goodness, if CPI comes out bad, we could see this be bad next week. But if it comes out good, we can just see the craziness continue. But what I'm pointing out here is this bar here, it opened up at 901.51. 901.51. So what did we do? That very important resistance level of 900, we actually gapped above that. Okay, we gapped above that, and then we consolidated. We had a little bit higher. So right now, you gapped above the important level. All these people who are probably trying to add puts on in this overall market, right? This is where the puts stack up, Every single little pullback is going to have some puts on it. People thinking this is the top. Every time they do that, they actually can cause the opposite reaction, because if it goes up, they can get squeezed, and then you'll see a big squeeze bar like this. Let's go look at Bitcoin for a sec. You said it hit 70K. Right now it's 68.8. Hit 70K here. Solid move for Bitcoin, right? We were talking about how this isn't overall. This is just bullish. This is just bullish and bullish and bullish going into the weekly charts. Like, my goodness, this is a very, very bullish move. You can't say it's not. Look at that thing. Now, it happened very, very quickly. The last time that happened very quickly, what did we do? Well, we lost like, I think this was like 40% or something like that. 56%. We lost 56% in 3 months. So once we get up into these areas, if we see some people start to hit the sell button, that'll be interesting. Not saying it has to. This is a parabolic move, though. You really want some consolidation. You really want this to at least come and maybe reconnect with that 5 or something for the next couple weeks, and then see that go higher. Good day, sir. One that I'm really paying attention to today is AMD. AMD seeing a very, very strong move. Oh, I'll take a look, Sammy. AMD seeing a very, very strong move. This is where the resistance is very heavy for AMD. Okay, this is where it's at. Now, you could just continue to blow past it. That's perfectly fine. Obviously, we know that that kind of stuff can happen. But what you'd overall say here is this is outside of its monthly. It's outside of its weekly. Today is a great day, actually, to take profit in AMD, to take profit in NVIDIA. Look at that big move. You got a 4.5% move up to 968. Good time to take profit. This week has been a great week to take profit in a lot of these big AI stocks. I actually think, in the grand scheme of things, I think Bitcoin will go down to somewhere around 13K. You're going to take profits this time, right? I'm not playing any of this. As of yesterday and today, I have taken a position trade for some kind of pullback, correction, or even a crash. So I took not playing this, not playing this, guys. Okay, even I'm not going to mess with this. I don't care if this thing is overbought. This thing could just keep going, and someone says it's worth 1,300. So there's some people saying it's worth 1,300. That's something to pay attention to. This thing. The bad part about NVIDIA right now, though, is it is such a heavy weight. It is now within the top 3. I believe it might be in the top 2. It is in the top 3 for the value of stocks, the weight of stocks on the Qs. It is in the top third, so or the top 3. So that's something to really worry about, because if this actually drops off, then you're going to see the market drop off. Look where right here. Look where Apple is. Look where Tesla is. Look where Google is. All of these are down lower. The only thing holding this market up, this guy right here. Bitcoin 150. So that would be the assessment that either people are going to run to it. I would say 2 things. They could either run to this for safety, or we're just going to see continued buying, and we're actually going to see this last all the way up until October, see this craziness last a little longer. What you'd want in order to go to 150 is still consolidate at these highs. If you can consolidate in these highs up here, get this to kind of just move sideways, maybe a little down for a little bit, then see that pop up, good sign you're going to actually go higher. I'm not saying he can't be wrong. I'm still into it. And yeah, someone did mention the halving cycle, the halving event going on, and that is a bullish event. So if they recover, does that hold Nvidia up? You want to pay attention to the dollar. So right now this is most likely retail traders. Okay, I'm just gonna say this is most likely retail. This is most likely us holding this thing higher. I know that I didn't click on it, but there was a link saying how some big fish have sold into this last 3 days here. So that's something to pay attention to. Can it hold up? Yes, it can hold up the Qs. It can't hold up Nvidia. Okay, so if Nvidia sees some kind of drop off, what you could see is people start to rotate. If it's not bad news, why they're really dropping off, we just see some selling come in or just a little bit of bad news. They actually could funnel that money back into Apple, most likely back into Tesla, actually, and we could see some kind of move out of Tesla. So that's why we want to pay attention to this divergence down here confirming, because Tesla's at much lower prices, and this is where a lot of people rotated out of Tesla into Nvidia. So really, I would say Nvidia dropping off, if you start to see an uptick in Tesla, it could just be a rotation. Now, if it sells off because of bad news, that bad news also affects other tech stocks like Tesla. Then you're going to see it really start to pile on the selling in the Qs. But you can see the Qs just creeping higher. Creeping higher today. Getting a slight divergence on the 15-minute. Wish I had those daily expected moves, but strong move. I'm gonna bank this is not near the weekly or the daily expected move here, because I'm just guessing the daily expected move is much bigger. A little bit of selling coming in at this level, right at that 448 level, almost 449. So let's pop back over to Nvidia for a little bit. Just watch this 15-minute. No divergences up here. This is how you know it's just parabolic. It's just momentum, has nothing to do with it. It's literally just rocketing to the upside with so much momentum that you're not going to see it die out. Min and max for the day for the SPY. So I wasn't able to create the levels, guys. I got stuck in a hailstorm. I didn't want to crack my windshield, so I kind of got stuck. Wasn't able to really calculate the range for today, so even I don't have the ranges, and I'm sorry about that. And then I had to, baby girl's had some very, very bad gas to where she farts like a trucker. But she's had some bad gas, so I spend extra time with her so mom can get sleep at night. So she was good though. We got her to straight up man toot last night to where it sounded like a grown man, and she finally was able to sleep. But I was up till about 3 a.m. So it was just difficult to step aside and do that. So I'm kind of going blind today, but we'll have those up for you on Sunday. Okay, on Sunday we'll be back here. We'll talk about some of the things we're seeing on the daily side of things on tomorrow, the weekend video. Give a grand scheme of things for the month of March here again. But on Sunday we'll give you those updated ranges for the week ahead. You're gonna want those updated ranges. You're gonna want those updated ranges for Monday, especially Tuesday and Wednesday. Those are going to be the first 3 days there are going to be where we really want to see those daily expected moves. Yeah, that's all right, Sahan. Expected move for the SPY is plus minus 0.8%. Because if you're saying plus minus 0.8, that is a Nothing move. Okay, percent. Okay, okay, okay. I was like, that is a nothing move if that's true. Okay, so we could say, what did it open at? Down in here. Okay, so technically you're kind of at that daily expected move, if that's the right move. Are you lying to us? No, I don't think you are. But if that's the move, a $3.63 move, we're actually up towards that area right now. How long have you been trading? I've been trading since I was about 21. Now I can tell you I was not very good at it, and I was a um, kind of a fundamentalist when I was 21. I was reading into a lot of kind of trying to be like a Warren Buffett style, where I would just read into companies really heavy, and then I was like doing okay. And then I was like, okay, this is going to be the company. I really believe in it. Their numbers are good. This is great. Their sales are good. Everything's good. It's at a cheap price. It's at a low value, good ratio. I buy it. Where I bought it 2 months later, it went to zero. You guys, so this stuff has happened to me before, but it went to zero because it turned out the numbers that I was reading into was all fraudulent. So I went through that. I lost like all of my money when I was like 21 because I read into this stock, and I mean that's where too good to be true, I guess, could be argued there. And then that's when I kind of flipped a couple of years later and started doing technical trading. Well, yeah, it went to zero. So I did all the research on this stock. This is why the fundamental side, I'm kind of like, I understand it's important, right? But I'll also be like, I trade on technicals because they've worked for me for, I got really good, I would say, at technicals probably 3.5, 4 years ago, to the point where I could make my own strategies, which is something that's in my course. So if you do have time this weekend, you want to take a course that'll give you like how I see these indicators, um, how to trade around those indicators, the meaning of why behind these indicators, and then also at the end, I give you a good strategy for a bear market. So, good strategy for a bear market is going to be very useful. Most likely in the next few days, it's going to become very, very useful. Biggest loss. My biggest loss was, I think it was somewhere between, my Zillow loss was up there, but I'm trying to think if that was, trying to think of how much I lost when I and went into that company on the fundamental side when I was 21. I don't think I had a ton of money to deal with when I was 21. I think I had $5,000. So I think that's what I lost that time. The biggest loss I had was somewhere between, I think it was about 12,000. Yeah, Sid. I mean, I guess you could consider it a penny stock. It was worth, yeah, it was worth like, I think it was worth like 287 or something like that. And it didn't have like a, the funny part was like I went back and looked at the fundamentals of it after or looked back at the technicals of it when I was like getting good at technicals, and I was like, there's nothing saying this should sell off. I just got bamboozled. 250. Yeah, 250 is nothing, man. I'll lose 250 almost every week sometimes. Like if I have 3 trades going on, I win 2, lose 1. Well, I'll make, you know, 2 to 3,000 or something like that, maybe, or 1 to 3,000, and then I'll lose 250 if I take 3 trades a week. I'm still doing small amounts too. I'm not doing big amounts in this market just yet. I'm waiting for that because I think we're going to top out over the next few days. So I'd be kind of a psycho to be, spending all my money trying to trade this thing. But I have made money this week on all these moves. It's been very, very good. But yeah, I think it was somewhere around 12K was my biggest loss. I know that Zillow was something like $8,000 back in the day. That was a tough lesson, guys. Trading around earnings, that was my lesson. Are you using any prop firm? No. Top out, SPY. 222, 224. 224. You mean 522? I was like 220. It's like the SPY's at 222. Hey, starting to roll over here. That's something you can pay attention to. Still want to look at that 2 hour. We'll talk about this over the weekend on Sunday. 522, yeah. 522, pretty much this area up in here is where I would be a little bit skeptical for the most part. But granted, you know, I looking back on this, it's like I'd be skeptical throughout this whole damn thing. This is still priced pretty tight. You haven't really had that open up on the daily side of things. So still think we're going to see at least a meaningful pullback. I got burned on snow last week. Yeah, snow. I think we looked at snow last week. Snowflake, I think this was like a buy for Jim Cramer or something like that a few weeks ago. There's the earnings. So this is what happened to me with Zillow pretty much a long time ago. This is what was probably one of my biggest losses was Zillow's trading around earnings. That's where I learned that lesson. So when I say that to you guys, I'm not saying like, oh, don't trade around earnings, but then I go do it. I say don't trade around earnings, and I don't trade around earnings. How far do we think the ES could go until? I mean, I really think you're going to see a topping out over the next few days. I'm genuinely, now that's my opinion. The technicals have it, not necessarily on these shorter time frames, right? We do have a little bit of divergence here on a 30-minute, but just from the daily scale, if you look at these divergences being created up here, I really think you got days left in this market for this to continue to head up. Right, we haven't seen a big move. We've seen price tight for quite some time now. Honestly, we're most likely going to get a correction. You know, we can if we go all the way up into the apex here, that'd be crazy, but it can happen. Think you born to trap only? The market, yeah. Has Amazon topped? No one knows if Amazon topped, man. No one knows if it's actually topped, but we have signals that are telling us, hey, it could be topping very soon with that right shoulder, right? If we sell off from here. But we already stated at the beginning of this video, we could head all the way up to like 185 next week before that wants to actually top out. Now, if you guys are saying, hey, I'm a trapper, well, then, you know, if everyone was paying attention, then what were we here? We were bullish. What were we here? We were bearish. What were we here? We were bullish. What were we up in this area, up in here? We've been drawing this big box. Now we're saying, okay, weakness can come in again. So you can say all you want. You can call me a bear. You can do whatever you got to do. But I made money here. I made money here. I made money here. I had one loss of a trade right here. So I'm not too worried about you coming in and commenting on my stream. Amazon though, yeah, this is overall what we were looking at, head and shoulders. So we have to see what happens from here. See if that head and shoulders wants to complete. This is where you have to pay attention to the base, right? We want to pay attention to this level probably down here, 172. If we start to lose 172, we can come fill this gap. That's overall how you think about it. Now the 2 hour here is able to curl up. So this tells you, yes, there is weakness on the shorter time frame, but is the higher time frame going to take over? Curl up into positive territory. Sahan, it's a very, very good thing to learn. That's why I'm calling you by your legal name. Just the tip of trade like water, be adaptable is such a good thing to learn. Something talked about in the course, but craft many at 1,000. Now this is overall what I'm talking about. Now if we see that sell off in Nvidia, it's going to sell off the market. But you have the 2 hour that curled up. You have the potential for a divergence up in here. So you just have to be careful. I would say like, okay, if I want to go say this is going to be a head and shoulders of breakdown, I'd say small position maybe at here if I'm thinking about it. Maybe once I actually break through this base, get a retest, that's where I can enter a little bit more firm. Let's go pop over to NVIDIA. Ooh, topping out. Not at 1,000. Didn't get to 1,000. 973.96. Starting to see that sell off here. Go into a shorter time frame, see what we see here. Still within, I mean, if you want to consider, I just drew like a wonky channel. I'm just mainly paying attention to this line down here, seeing if we can break through. Tesla did have that reversal. This is what we were talking about in the video a couple days ago, was the tapering, right? We're seeing that not get that dramatic selling. It stopped. So we got tapering here. Now we have tapering across. You got something like this. You break to the upside. Now you get that retest. We actually can go higher in Tesla here. And then if you need more structure with this, it has it to hold higher. This is what we said early on today's video. It has the structure. It has a handle. As long as this doesn't come down below this low, this handle here can come up. We're in positive territory now. We can see this start to go up on the shorter time frames. See if that's able to last. Maybe people rotate out of NVIDIA back into Tesla. But as NVIDIA is slightly selling off and Tesla selling off at the same time, you would say that rotation is not there at this point. Now, I say selling off. I would say saying selling off is kind of not a thing with NVIDIA at this point. So in order to say sell off, I really should see this drop down below 900 again. Yeah, I use your legal name to make you know I'm very serious. Do we like this new camera? It's a little more zoomed in. But my goodness, it feels better to look at this camera than that one I was using on my computer. My goodness. Ooh, she's cooking. You guys, I didn't want to brag or anything, but she's slow cooking a pot roast all day. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I should go to the casino because I'm lucky. Except for the fact that I lost money on my trade today. But I made money the rest of the week, so that's what's important. Probably should go check on those, actually. That's the thing. When I trade the way that I do, I don't really worry about it too much. I just pay attention to levels, and then I pop over every once in a while. Yeah, we're still good. We're still solid. Yes, and yum. Damn right. Damn right. That's some good stuff. I kind of want to see what AMD is doing. People could rotate into AMD as well. Bullish or bearish on the SPY short term? I don't have any signals really telling me short term that this has to fall down. You don't have divergence up here. You don't have anything. So I'm not going to say anything bearish short term. Now this could, this just means we could get some kind of pullback here and then curl back up next week going into Monday. That would make a lot of sense, create some kind of divergence that's closer to negative territory. That would then convince me, hey, this has the potential to reverse. But right now you just have kind of flat divergence up here, no divergence on the RSI. So I have to say this will most likely be a pullback if we see this controlled selling. Now, if we start to see red bar after red bar, we break through here, come and set up some kind of lower high, then we can talk, fill in this gap, probably heading down to create that right shoulder over here. So, but to say like, what do I think is going to happen today? I really would have to say, and I'm very confident when I say this, about the SPY today. I don't know. And I'm sorry guys, but you probably would like a person that'll tell you I don't know instead of saying like, yeah, this will rocket up and then it falls back down. I'm just saying, hey, if this has some structure here and turns back up, well, we can get that curl up into positive territory. So I'm not seeing any signals to take a trade up or down right now. Nothing really telling me. The only thing from a down perspective would be the daily. being crazy overbought for so long and creating this big, almost 5 divergences across the board down here, I think, or 4 divergences across the board down here. So this is the only thing that would tell me, hey, maybe I do want to take a position trade for the future that this thing's at least going to pull back. It ended up doing that head and shoulders on the 30-minute. Does that negative did it drop below the head? Lab D. Let's take a look. This was on the 30-minute. We both saw this thing. It was kind of an interesting head and shoulders for you to find, because it could be considered something else, right? So really, you want to draw this line across. There you go. There's your head and shoulders. You're just waiting to break through. It actually didn't break through yet. But you have to be a little worrisome, okay? Because you got this is tapering here. This is good. But whenever you make, moves like this, you can fall down pretty quick as well. So you can see this start to break down, something like that. So what I would do on this is, let's look at the MACD. Yeah, if this goes into negative territory, you can start heading down. What I would pay attention to was the 2 hour able to curl up. Here you go. This is what you look at. This is what you look at here, okay? You got the sell signal, yeah, but we don't read into this too much, right? This can still be that head and shoulders, popping up. Now, this is kind of an interesting head and shoulders. The way you know that's violated, if this low is taken out. So if this low gets taken out, head and shoulders off the table. But really look at this. This is going to help out a lot. If this 2 hour curls over into negative territory, if it doesn't remain in this tapering, you can really see this start to sell off and continue this type of selling. So look out for that. But if this wants to curl down and violate that on this head here and then turn back up, well, guess what you'd have? You'd have divergence, okay? So look for that in the future, but curling over in negative territory usually means test the low, create a new one. Test the low, create a new one. You just want to pay attention to where that's created. Microsoft has a hack going on. I didn't hear about a Microsoft hacked. Why, thank you. Well, you can actually, it blurs the background a little bit. That's pretty sick. Pretty dope. Headline on CNBC. I'll go look at it real quick. Let's see what we can read into. Yeah, this is my new phone, guys. I got a new phone. I switched because I'd been with Sprint and T-Mobile for 17 years, and then I ran over. Well, someone ran over my phone. I dropped it in the middle of the road, though. That's my fault. But someone ran over my phone. It got crushed, and I said, "Look, I've been here for 17 years. I bought multiple phones from you guys. Just give me a free phone, and I'll stick with your plan." They go, "Oh, we can't give you a free phone," and then I go, "Okay, then I'm leaving." So I left. I went to Mint Mobile, and now instead of spending like $1,200 a year, I spend about $400 a year. And I was like, cool. So I spent $500. I have service for a full year, and I get a new phone with that $500 as well. Versus they wanted to sell me a $1,200 phone and have me keep my current plan. So technically, at the end of all of it, I will have saved almost like $1,500. And I went, yeah, you guys don't want to give me a free phone, then I'm out. Told them it straight up. And I did it within days. All right, let's see. I do not see. Can't find that news, but I might not be in the Stop asking me to support. I don't support you, CNBC. Okay, we're going somewhere else. I tried CNBC, but we're gonna try somewhere else. A stock split after 1,000 rally or $1 trillion rally. That's interesting. I'm not seeing anything as far as Microsoft goes, and if that news was hitting, you would see this sell off more dramatically. Maybe it needs to hit more media sources first. That would be a bad thing for Microsoft. You do have a lot of structure up in here to head down. You have a ton of liquidity bought up in this area. So once you break through this base, if you're able to, or you start to break through, I'd say this level here, you can really start to see an explosion in price. If you look back, I mean, look at this. Kind of like this section over here, right? Crazy price action. What happens with all this built up liquidity? Well, we get an explosive move. Now you have that building up right here. If you're able to break through this base, you can see us come down back into this point of liquidity. That's what I would pay attention to on Microsoft. Tesla, I'm going to keep my eye on this. The 2 hour wanting to roll up here, but starting to get rejected. We'll pay attention to that. Amazon, seeing a little bit of pressure. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. That thing's starting to drop off pretty good. Actually going with a red bar now. Still not negative, but red bar up here. Really just looking for this 2 hour to curl over. Everyone's like shorting. New phone company is Mint Mobile. They're having a thing right now where I got a new phone, a brand new Pixel 8 is what I got. I got it for about $400, and at T-Mobile they were selling it for $600 or $700. That saved me money. And then the Mint Mobile had a promotion where you pay $90 for 12 months of service. So I took that, and so I paid $500, and I don't pay anything for my cell phone for the rest of the next 12 months. Wipe it clean. All right, selling starting to pile on. This is where you need to watch out. Let's go to a shorter time frame, 15-minute. Still, look at this uptrend. We have not created that series of lower highs yet. Okay, so still in this channel, look for this area here. But on the 15-minute, just notice that we're seeing that selling come in. Okay, we're seeing that selling come in, so we need to pay attention to 900. Look at that. If we break through this right here, that would be that 900 level. All those people who still are holding those calls, that 1300 call could be bad. I wonder if this is that news. This might be that news with Microsoft being hacked, something like that. We saw it mentioned in the chat here. Unemployment reports bolster the outlook for Fed rate cuts. Okay, so I see how they spun this into a good thing. Unemployment ticking up means they need to cut rates to now bring unemployment down again. I get, okay, we got it. We're a little slow today, but we got it. We get it. Yeah, SPY is selling off here. No divergences behind this. So going into next week, if we see this continue throughout the day, look for some kind of pullback, because these aren't at the same time on the shorter time frames. We can look for some kind of pullback, get a bounce maybe before CPI, and then see that torn away. Not how it works. You think that people don't sell their calls when the value of their calls goes down quickly? You don't think that someone who is losing a load of money up here at 1300 because their calls expire today isn't thinking about getting out of their position when they see big red bars heading down? That is exactly how it happens. They overpriced in 7 cuts. Oh, well, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Hector. Maybe I didn't know exactly what you were talking about, but yeah, they priced in. We talked about this for a long time. 10-year. Boom. This is what we were saying way down here was we priced in way too many cuts. We were actually worried right here. So rate cuts, we said, hey, this is pricing in about 150 basis points, but the Fed is only telling you 75. That's what we told you down here. No, you're okay, Hector. I was reading, and then I think I was talking about something else, but I was just like, that's exactly how it works. But no, I agree with you. Okay, we priced in, what did you say, 7? So 7 would be one more than what I priced in, but I priced in 150 basis points here, and or the market did, and then I said that's not a good thing when the Fed is telling you only 3, and boom, we see that reaction to come back to reality, but we didn't see the sell-off in the market with this, and that's not good. And then the dollar showed that as well. So while this is creeping up, the dollar's creeping up. Very, very important to see that. And people are still now with this data thinking more rate cuts. Okay, right? They get a piece of data that says, hey, now the Fed needs to cut those rates even faster. That's why we see some bullishness come in. I get it now, based on just reading that little headline. But this is most likely going to get a reaction from here, and we're going to still see the Fed hold at that. Actually, they haven't even been saying 3 rate cuts anymore. Hey, thank you. They haven't been saying 3 rate cuts anymore. If you notice, they just say, we believe we are going to cut by the end of the year. They kind of didn't say 75 basis points. They didn't say 3 rate cuts. At least from what I've seen. I'll say that, unless I missed something. But let's see if NVIDIA is still going down. Yeah, it's still wanting to come down a bit here. Yeah, it's coming up into its gap fill. Now, this is where that support can come in, right at 900, so we'll have to see what happens there. Market doesn't seem to care about rate cuts anymore. They actually, today's price action is because it makes sense now why we went up. Today's price action is because unemployment went up. Therefore, you would say the Fed is being too tight because they're causing unemployment to start to tick up. So we need to cut the rates. People see the rate cuts as bullish before they happen. Once they do happen, usually, at least I think it's like 100% of the time we've seen a recession. So, but yeah, it seems like the market is just going to read into everything as good news at this point. So you need something that is blatantly bad news for this to sell off in any kind of meaningful way. And a blatant bad news would be a tick up in CPI. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Oh, Sid said thank you for the information a long time ago. Are you a full-time trader? Do you have another job? I have. Oh, Fancy, if you're still here, I do have like a bunch of different things that I do. Right now, the other main thing I'm doing is I'm a consultant for marketing for a startup, kind of. There's a startup that actually, if you guys know Coke Industries, a guy high up at Coke Industries made his own, or funded his own business that his buddy's running, and they got me involved. So I'm very, very good on the creative marketing side. That was my main job for years before I really did trading or anything like that seriously. Marketing was my main job. So I'm a consultant for them. I work on video projects with them as well. Labor market isn't softening yet. Jobs numbers still high. You have to also think like, yes, Hector, yes. Hector, exactly correct. Usually by the time the Fed is actually going to cut the rates, make the actual move of cutting the rates, that is because they said it in yesterday, right? Jerome Powell was saying it a lot. They were talking about it a lot. Bank pressure. Banks will be under pressure. Now, maybe it's my tinfoil hat. I think they want the small banks to fail so that the big banks can absorb them with fake money again. And then we see the government really try to control our money. But will we let that happen as the people? I don't think so. But that's my tinfoil hat for you. Jobs number high. The thing about the jobs numbers that I was noticing was we're seeing high jobs numbers, like even non-farm payroll. This non-farm payroll number, I believe before, you see it was revised. I believe before this, it was much higher. It was like 300, 400K. And then it gets revised down. So this number here, you could say, hey, well, if this number got revised down, what if this number gets revised down? The jobs isn't as good as we think. The overall thing that you have to keep in your mind too is from an investment perspective, You hear about Google laying off 30%. You hear about Apple laying off 20%. You hear about Microsoft laying off 20%. You hear about Starbucks laying off 30%. You hear about people are getting laid off. Something that was brought up yesterday was illegal immigration, and illegal immigration, they said, could be affecting these jobs numbers in some way. I don't know enough about that to really comment on it, but that is an interesting take. I will say that. Big sell-off, fill in the gap, getting some support at the gap for NVIDIA at the moment. The SPY coming down to lower levels, still nothing bearish here. Just you got a little crossover on the 15-minute. Like I said, this overall is a strong move over the last couple days, 3 days here. So if we do want to consolidate for a little bit to head higher, that would make sense. This is a pretty big trend line here. So really want to pay attention to any kind of reaction off that. Meta selling off. Ooh, look at this trade. Okay, you guys wanted a trade. Sorry, we usually just give out trades on Patreon, but look at this one. 15-minute divergence. Outside, you already kind of missed it a little bit. You could have dabbled on taking something here, seeing if that confirms, then giving the big amount. But this is a bad sign going forward. 15-minute divergence. Want to look at a 30-minute, see if this crosses over. Now, that's a 15-minute. Which tells you, hey, this could still base out somewhere, go a little bit higher. I really like 30-minute divergence outside of the weekly expected move, but Meta showing you a 15-minute divergence in the short time frame. When you get a 15-minute divergence, you can actually roll around this hourly. So we could be seeing lower prices pretty soon for Meta. That's very interesting. So pay attention if this hourly starts to roll over. That would start to tell you, oh, there might be actually some selling going on. Want to pay attention then if it gets into negative territory. So if we see some hourly rollover, this still could turn back up. Just see if that turns back up into positive territory. But very, very good trade setup right here. That is beautiful. AMD coming up into the weekly expected move, right? We gave you the weekly expected move to the upside for AMD. This is what can happen with the weekly expected moves. We can start to use them as support. So we blow past them. We can use them as support. So if you don't want to use this as support, what do you need to do? You need to break and hold below this level, start to use it as resistance. Right now, seeing some wicking right at it. So that's something to really pay attention to moving forward. How many rate cuts will there be this year? That is going to be unknown. That is going to be unknown at this point. Originally, we priced in 150. This is why we said the market needs to wake up a little bit. We're going to see those yields bounce most likely because they need to price in the fact that the Fed has only said 75 basis. So we priced in about 5. Hector would even maybe come in and say 6 or 7. No, we priced in 6. Hector would maybe say 7. But the Fed told us for the longest time they were only going to cut by 3. They were only going to cut by 3. So what that tells you is, we're thinking things are going to be crazy good. We're going to cut rates dramatically. The Fed's like, no, we're still in a bad spot. We have to hold higher for longer, puts the banks under pressure. Now we're seeing that kind of turn into, we're going to have a rate cut. We're going to have some rate cuts by the end of the year. Now they're not giving you that 3 number as definitively. Okay. So that tells you, well, now we might only see like what, 1, 2, maybe 3 by the end of the year. Should I invest in NVIDIA? Okay, so if you're new to stocks and you are going from an investment standpoint, you can pull up a weekly, okay? Pull up a weekly and just do something kind of simple for, since you're pretty new, I'd encourage you to take that course because it'll teach you a lot of this stuff down in my description. And then you can ask me questions about it on Patreon and things like that. But pretty much you would say, up here, way overbought. This is something very simple from an investment perspective. Crossed over on the MACD. Most likely we're going to see lower price. We're at least going to base out here for quite some time. That's actually what happened here. So investment perspective would be, this is crazy. I missed out on it. I need to be very patient here. See this roll back down, right? And then see if that's able to turn back up from the weekly perspective. Really, as an investor, you want to find stocks that are kind of reacting on the weekly off of the 200 like this. You want to find stocks that are reacting off the 200 off the weekly like this. So as far as investing in NVIDIA right now, I would say if you do your due diligence and you really think that NVIDIA is worth more than 925 over the next year or two, then that is your decision. Me, myself, I do not start to invest in something where I really feel like I lost out on the move. This is a very parabolic move. If you wanted to be in this move, you needed to get in down here. You needed to get in right here. Look at that cross up on the MACD. This is kind of what we're talking about back here that I was saying. From an investment perspective, boom, we get this pullback. We pull back. You see that cross up. You see that cross on the MACD. This is a very simple thing. It doesn't work like this all the time. But Hector, thank you so much for subscribing, man. I appreciate you. But you see that cross up. This would be where you could say, okay, there's probably some value here. Boom, over the next 2-3 months, you make a ton of money. Okay. But this is, well, someone just said it, N1, euphoria. This is euphoria. That's like saying Bitcoin right now. Should I invest in Bitcoin? It just hit 70,000. Well, what happened the last time it hit 70,000? Big sell-off. Big sell-off. Not saying that has to happen again. We can go higher, right? That's what we said here. This could pull back, but this could also just keep going. But from an investment perspective, do you know the last time I traded Bitcoin? Do you guys know where I bought? Buy sell indicator, just type SMA 950 180. I switched this to a 200. You can just type this right up in here. Take a little picture real quick. 1, 2, 3. This right here. Now you don't want to use those buy and sells. You want to have multiple reasons to take a trade. We talk about it in the course. The buy and sells. Look at this one. It can get it wrong. It can bait you into things. So this cross up right here, set a buy signal. Boom, we fail right at that 50. So be a little bit cautious. That course is 50% off this entire month. It's going to increase once this bear market starts, which I believe is happening this month. So end of March, get it while it's $100 because it will be very, very useful to you guys moving forward. But the last time that I took a Bitcoin trade was actually right down here. So right down in here, I believe I started to accumulate down in this area down here. Saw a bounce up, I think I sold a little bit at both of these highs. I think I sold half here, and then I said, well, this thing's still right at the 200, so I want to be a little careful. Broke back below the 200. I did not take the next trade, but this bar right here would be my next trade on the weekly from an investment perspective on Bitcoin. Look at that profit there. So thanks for the live stream, Debusta. Thank you so much for just showing up, man. You're showing up. What is it? In college, in order to get a C, you have to just show up. Okay, see, this is dramatic selling. See, Hector, do you see why I kind of came at you for a sec? Because when you said that comment in there, we were off on the topic, but I was like, this is what causes selling. So that's why we were butting heads for a sec, but look at this selling coming in. Still want to pay attention to 900. This is how it happens. These people up here are starting to go underwater now. The selling can pile on is pretty much the thinking with this. What's AMD doing? AMD breaking below 217. Okay, so now you have that opportunity to switch to maybe like a 5-minute just to see if it's able to hold as some resistance. So we're blowing back past that level 217. Very, very important monthly and weekly, right around that 217. Break below it. Now we use this liquidity. Are we going to use that liquidity to go higher, or are we going to use that liquidity and get rejected off this very important 217 level? That would be very interesting going into next week. NVIDIA paying attention to that 900 level. I really suspect we're going to dink right off of it right down in here. That would be very cool. The course doesn't, I mean, I don't know if you necessarily would say it teaches options, the risk management section, because I know people do options. The risk management section talks about options. The strategy that I go over tells you from from the, I guess it would be the Robinhood perspective, one of my accounts there. I just use my small account to show you guys like, hey, you want to buy a certain amount out, and then the taking profit part with the options is very different than what you might have seen. Because a lot of people will say, oh, hit this price point, hit this price point, hit this target. Your target is more of a percentage gained with my strategy, just because that's the exact thing I did when I used it last time. And I just traded Apple back and forth for like, I don't know how long it was. I think it was like almost 8 months when I made that strategy. But a couple months, I did it for 2 months, and I did it to a T, and it worked. I think it worked 9 out of 10 times that 2 month span when volatility was higher. But it'll tell you, how much money to allocate to it, how much to go outside of it, and then how to take profit with it, when to take profit with it. That mixed with actually understanding the indicators deeper, creating, we'll talk about in the course 3 to 5 reasons to take a trade. That's how I do things. 3 to 5 reasons. I have to blatantly see, okay, if I have 3 reasons, maybe I do a little bit less. If I have 5 reasons, maybe I can put a little bit more behind it and then add to it later. But I don't look at NVIDIA for 5 minutes and it goes down. Hey, this downturn has been going on for the last 50 minutes, okay? Don't give me that 5 minute. No, I'm just playing with you, Gabo. Yeah, it's starting to downturn. We're finally getting a crossing on a 15-minute here. The reason it's going... Oh, shit, she's crying. Hold on. She just woke up from her morning nap. So yeah, it's going to go down from here. We were calling how there's a ton of calls up in this area, but people have a ton of calls at 900. So now 900 is going to be your support level to maybe hold this a little bit higher. I would really expect the 900 to see some kind of bounce. The thing with that is now we can see a little bit of structure in here, maybe come like this, start to break through this channel. Yahoo! She's hungry. She's eating now. That's why she's quiet. Do I think it'll go up in a bit? I would highly suggest, NYT, you're new to trading. I would highly suggest you look at a stock that is not so euphoric, a stock with not so much emotion, and a stock with not so much fluctuation in it. I would highly suggest that. If you wanted something that has really gone up but still has some, structure to it, you can try to trade like Microsoft. So something with Microsoft you can pay attention to here is it's got a bunch of liquidity built up. You can trade this thing. I would highly suggest you do more research before you put actual money behind any of this stuff, first of all. Like, that's very, very important to actually gain the skill before trading. So really just pay attention here because you're in a negative trend, sort of, almost. But if this starts to break through this level, you can confirm that negative trend. You can trade it on the way down. A good example of this is Apple. Let me show you guys Apple real quick. Okay, so Apple goes into a negative trend right here, right? And then we see this bounce back up. But what happens right here? Well, we curl over at the bottom of our zone into negative territory on the MACD. What happens when we turn over in negative territory on the MACD? We test the low, we test this low, or we go make a new one. Guess what? We come down like this, we test this low. Boom. This is a trade. Just so you guys know, this is a trade right here. Enter. Okay, make my money, exit, especially if I'm doing options. Okay, now this curls up again. So this curls up again. We see it cross back over in negative territory. What do we do right here? Sorry, this one right here. What do we do right here? Well, we test the low. Look at that. We test the low again. Now what happens from there? We get a couple green bars, right? We get a couple green bars, but that swings back down and it crosses. We get that cross. Got that cross. What happens on the cross? Well, we test the previous low or we make a new one. Boom. Like this right here, NYT, if you can learn how to do this instead of trying to short or call on a euphoric stock, you will do a million times better. You will gain the skill over time. Like, this is just pretty much swing trading underneath the 200 on a 2 hour for Apple. Damn, she is crying. I might go say hi real quick. I'll be right back, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Give your opinions on the market. Come on, guys. And we're back. If rate cuts happen, the stock market will go up. Sorry, they have a doctor's appointment. I carried her out there. She's getting heavier, guys. Good sign. It's crazy. She used to be 5 pounds. Now she's like 7.5 in just a few weeks here. So, or 8. Heavy. Okay. Hold on. Let me fully get everything going here. Almost knocked over my coffee. Okay. Sorry about that. Your dream is coming true. Oh no. What got announced? Hold on, let me get this into focus. There it goes. So Cindy, I thought the minute news came out. Okay, Cindy. Rate cuts depending on the narrative, but most of the time rate cuts are seen as bullish, and it is a buy the rumor, sell the fact, sell the news. Sell the fact is more. So that would be, people hear rate cuts. That's why you're seeing price go up. We've heard rate cuts. We've heard rate cuts. We've heard rate cuts. 2024. Prices go up. Prices go up. Prices go up. Well, the Fed normally cuts rates when you don't see soft landings. The Fed normally cuts rates when something in the system is breaking. That's why yesterday when we were live, we were really focusing and saying, hey, pay attention, when he's talking about banks and the struggles of banks. Yes, 8 chai, you got it. Rate cuts will make bonds go up. Yes. And when bonds go up, usually that's a flight to safety. Rates come down. So actually, sometimes it's the Fed barely even cutting rates, and the market actually does it for them. But March 11th, it's March 12th, I believe. Why is it dumping? Maybe people are waking up. I don't know. I mean, honestly, let's go look at something that's not pumping. Remember we said when Nvidia sells off, we could see that inflow into Apple. Okay. You guys remember that? Inflow into Apple. Apple's at a good price. We could just be inflowing. This could just be profit taking, and that's just piling on because of this. Look at this. 23.4K, 1,300 calls. You have almost 15,000 calls at the 1,000 price point. We got up towards 1,000. Immediately, maybe some people started to take profit as they get nervous. We're breaking through. We kind of mentioned this morning. Whoa. I just went from down. Oh my God. If this thing just keeps ripping to the downside, I'm happy. I just went from down like almost 100% on my fun Nvidia put to completely breaking even and actually plus 10%. I'm sorry. That's kind of funny. I took just like a fun little play. I was like, let me do a fun play. Let me play Nvidia with a tiny, tiny bit of money and just like have some fun with it. See if we can catch a top here. That's what happened. AMD wanting to sell off with that too. Okay, so this is where things will start to add up. We have divergence on AMD on the 30-minute here. This can roll over the 2 hours. So when I do see this is a trade setup. This right here is a trade setup, 2 hour, at least for a position trader like myself. Boom, look at that wick on the 2 hour crossing over into negative territory. What this means is the 2 hour actually had the chance like this. I bet you this 2 hour looked a lot different. Like it was almost green. That faded. That caused it to stay red. This is a rejection. This is a rejection. So if we start to lose this here, look for this. If we lose this, we're heading back into this liquidity we talked about going into next week. Now, we could see this kind of bounce back and forth. We want to see if this holds as resistance, but AMD looking pretty good. NVIDIA going down. It's down almost 4%. I think it was up almost 5%. Now it's down 4%, and we're seeing that rip down. So we'll have to see if this piles on today. We could see this as a base, right? So we could see on the 30-minute here some kind of structure, some kind of bounce from here. You do have liquidity in here. We have the gap and everything like that. So now we're below 900. That's a key thing. I might even go into a 15-minute. Actually, let's go even deeper. Let's go into a 5-minute and really watch this NVIDIA thing here. So 900 is the level we really want to pay attention to. If we're holding above it or breaking below it, that is what we really need to pay attention to. Okay, so we're going to put this here. Put this as 900. Right, that's what we're paying attention to at this point. Let's change that to, let's say red. Okay, so we got this red line across your screen here. This would be your be careful shorting, because now you're above 900. You can use that as support. But if we remain below it, and we keep seeing this trail down, look out for that 864.83. That's really what I'm paying attention to. So we'll have to see what happens, but we did break below that 900 level. That's very important. Now this could be people buying it up, trying to get it back above 900. We could still get those zero DTEs today. This is where you could see some kind of bounce, though. The big thing here is, I know it's going to look funny, but check this out. This right here, cup. Look at this. You get a handle for like 1 bar, and then you see that drop off. Now you have big cup. Let's see, is this going to create that over here and get some kind of handle and break down by end of day? Very well can happen. Testing that 900 level right now, you'll see how important this is. Look at that resistance starting to come in. We'll really be watching this. This is great stuff. I really just want this to go down to like, let's say 871.50 by like now, like over the next like hour would be cool. I'm not taking profit on my fun play. That means it's no fun. We have to have fun with it. Next level of support. If you break through this level, you're going to say the gap fill, right? The gap fill is within this liquidity, so you have to pay attention to that section. So somewhere around 887. And then after that, you just really don't want to close below 871. I believe 871 is where we might see a bounce going on into next week. So if I could call this to a T, I say we get a little bit of a bounce here. We come above 900. We actually break it one more time, and we see that head down, test off of somewhere down in this area, somewhere around this 871 to 878. We see that break down a little bit more, and then we get some kind of bounce, like a more sustained bounce like this. We get some structure with this move. That would be very, very good from a trader perspective. Damn, I almost put money behind that too. That would have been insane. I almost put more money behind that. That was nuts. But this is your selling at this point. Your selling is very dramatic to the downside. And you're testing that right now. So you have to see if there's tapering in this move. Because look at that. You're just dropping down in a very good algorithm. This could be a selling algorithm at this point. It could have just hit a trigger. So you want to see if that starts to come out of that. If you start to see this kind of like build up and then sell off not as dramatically, then you can get some kind of tapering like this. But overall, really paying attention to if it can hold above or below 900. That is one big fat dump. Just like my daughter's last night. It was huge. I would pay attention 15-minute. I think if this dips any lower, this is actually, yeah, it completed all the cupping in here, actually. I would say it even completed it here. This could be some kind of 5-minute handle. See if that's able to hold below 900. You're getting the fight between the bulls and the bears there. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I would more likely see that bounce at the end of day if we actually keep selling off, come down into like 875 to 871, 872, something like that. And then we see that bounce at the end of the day, going on into the end of the day today, up into this area. That would be a good sign. You're actually maybe going to go a little higher on Monday and see that drop off. So we can build structure here. We have to be open to some upsides. So that's why the 15-minute here, this is not something to mess around with. You're seeing buyers step back in where they should, right around that 900. Not able to close below it. Needs to close below it. 1,000 is not out of the picture, guys. It is not out of the picture. You're not... Look at this kind of channel we're in at this point. Well, at least the bottom side support here, the bottom side trend, we were not able to break through that. Okay, we broke it. Yes, we actually were able to break through. We weren't able to close. You have to get that closing here. Because if you close here, you can just retest for a while, move a little bit like this, get that handle. So boom, there's your cup. Look for that handle. Then we start to break down. But if we start to see buying back up from here, you can just turn this right back around. So if this turns right back around, you can go up towards 1,000. But I would be very, very careful with that today. That is not to say this thing's going to go up or this thing's going to go down. It's just saying, well, 15-minute on the Qs, you had divergence. Boom. So when you have divergence here, you want to see, is it able to curl over this hourly? Well, if this hourly curls over, what would be the structure to go down? Well, it would be more selling into the end of today, maybe even into Monday. Then we actually bounce with CPI. That would be one thing. And then the other thing would be if we sell off today fully and then we bounce before CPI and then CPI comes out as bad news for the market on Tuesday. That's what I would really be leaning towards. But good solid selling. 15-minute divergence on the Qs. Want to see if this hourly is able to turn over. What this would do is it gets you into negative territory and then you bounce up one more time. Whether that goes higher or whether that gives you a lower high, you just wait for this MACD to curl over one more time and it's probably game over. Richard thinks that CPI will not be good news. May I ask why? Why? And I have the day to hang out with you guys for another hour or so, hour and a half maybe, because Dad didn't sleep till like 3:30 last night, so he is gonna be McChillin' today. I don't want to get sick. Oh yeah, inflation, but what makes you think that inflation is going to tick up? Nvidia getting up to 910. Really want to see that hourly was able to curl over. This hourly curling over really tells you like, hey, this has a very high likelihood of at least pulling back here. So from here, it really looks like, hey, by Monday, we most likely hit something like a 839. See that bounce back up, drop back down lower. So crawfish doubled. Tesla long-term plays. The one thing Tesla is setting up, which is very, very interesting, is this divergence on the daily. This isn't the longest term play, right? But this little divergence here, this flatness of the MACD, not having it on the RSI could have told you, hey, there's going to be some kind of pullback at this level. This right here is telling you if we're able to maybe base out and cross, yeah, we can actually see a good move because you have that divergence down here. It gets you able to go into positive territory. So all the stuff that I'm mentioning over like the last 30 seconds is what we teach you how to do in the course. But the thing that we need to pay attention to is this did just cross on the daily. And when it did happen, we haven't made a new low. Well, we actually made a new low the next day, but I would like this to actually dip a little bit lower and then start to head up later on. So you can see a little bit of structure here on Tesla, which is very interesting. It's sold off very dramatically. This is maybe an ABC pattern. I think that 154.78 is going to come in handy for you on Tesla. But just wanted to show you guys there are divergence plays and things like that setting up. Apple, not necessarily, though. Apple's just dropping off pretty quick. Nvidia able to buy back up to 912. See, we didn't break through this at all. Now, on the daily side, this would not be it, but you can get one of those hammer candles, right, where we kind of buy back up to the end of the day, get like a hammer all the way up in here, maybe even at 1,000. So we're going to pay attention to that 15-minute. If this 15-minute curls up, you're testing the high, you're making a new one. That's how you can think about it. Yeah, I'm not selling out of my fun play today. I'm keeping my fun play. Spy, good thing to pop around. Okay, so completed a little cup here. See if you can get this head and shoulders. You have a very tiny head and shoulders in here if it wants to make it. You can see some kind of bounce here. Is that, short-lived cup, little handle, head down, head and shoulders. You got kind of two at once here. And then if we want to head lower, you got the structure to head down, get a bounce. Guess what? You get a head and shoulders right by, this is what we were mentioning too, a head and shoulders right by the bottom side of the wedge. That could be where the trigger happens. Guess where this little drawing lines up? Tuesday morning. So right here is Tuesday morning. Boom, we get some bad news with CPI. That could be the moment. But could be. You have to pay attention to what the actual data is. at this point, you would say cup and handle right here. Is this the full cup and we're getting that handle right now to head lower? That's definitely possible. When you put it on a 5-minute, you start to see it a little bit. Boom, big old cup, handle. Let's see if we break down. 900 level is the most important. I know there's all the calls at 1300, but 900 level is going to be the most important. Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. If you're new to the channel, I really do appreciate you being here. We have all kinds of stuff, all kinds of information that we give out daily on this channel. On the weekends, we do go over a more macro style thing. So if someone, I believe it was Tesla Yehuda, you actually asked for Tesla long-term plays, that's more information you can get about that is going to be on our Saturday videos for the longer term stuff. And then the shorter time frame stuff, you're going to want to come back every single night. Will you normally give you that the daily expected moves for the market? Now, you guys know I just had a little girl about four weeks ago. Jayanta, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being subscribed. Really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Let's get some claps in there. Let's get some hype in there for Jayanta. And I know I'm probably butchering your name, and I'm sorry. But going on into next week, be very careful with CPI and things like that. 900 level going to be very important. We talked about that 1300, but those people could have just sold. They could have seen that strong move early on in the day and said, you know, I've made some money on this. Let me get out. That definitely could be what's happening here. This looks like some pretty solid algorithmic selling, actually. VIX not pulling back. I haven't looked at the VIX for a little bit. Let's go peek over there. Ooh, VIX is bouncing. All right, VIX here. We saw the 2-hour actually curl down, I believe. Now we're about to curl back up into positive territory. The thing we need to pay attention to on the VIX here is, look at that. This means that volatility is coming, guys. Volatility is coming. 2 check marks that we had for volatility coming fully back into this market. Closing with this cross on the MACD. We got that going on. We got a green bar. That's good. Next check, if we can get above this 200. If we can close above this 200, sure, we can get that pullback going into next week. But this is actually where I think, you know, I think volatility is coming. I really do. NVIDIA GTC. It still can. It still can, guys. It still can. Like, don't think that this can't. But the probabilities now of it going to 1,000 after breaking through 900 for this week is very, very low. This is very, very low that this keeps breaking down. And we actually see a reversal here just because you need this MACD to turn up and you don't want to break through this level. So if we break through this level here, I would be very turned off by it. But if it wants to go hit 1,000, it's going to tell me. It's going to curl up this MACD. And when it curls up this MACD on the 15-minute, test the high, make a new one. We just want to make sure that that's actually crossing fully. Because if it crosses for 10 minutes and then the last 5 minutes of that 15-minute bar it rejects, be very careful with that. We're coming into a very important point again. Weren't able to break it the first time. Will the second knock on the door work? SQQQ, what a day, low to high. Qs, yeah, that's going to be crazy. Now, 15-minute divergence. Hopefully some of you guys were able to catch this 15-minute divergence up here. You can see it down here on the MACD. If that's able, what did we say? 15-minute divergence. If that's able to curl over the hourly, that is a good sign that we're going to see a more of a pullback, maybe even going into the end of the day. Look at that about to cross. So we could see more negativity here. Yes. Yes, I show you how to get the indicators on your charts. Gold, it's on my list, but I always forget where it's at. Gold here, hitting these highs. This thing is just popping off. The thing with gold is this could be your flight to safety, right? No divergences up here. That's what we were talking about, divergence. My price target 205.65 on gold here. That's mainly where I'm paying attention. But what a move from gold, going up into extreme highs here. Now, there is one thing I wanted to pay attention to, which is the way that gold can move, right? So August 2020, we saw that price go up there. If we pull back a little bit, we go into, where was the crash in March? I want you guys to notice this. Okay, so when we crashed because of COVID, what happened to gold in those couple of weeks before we saw burr from the Fed? Okay, gold actually dropped off 10%, and then it dropped off another, well, minus 2% on the closing there, but from a high here, or the high closing, all the way to the low closing, you had a minus 13% move. And this was considered the, like, smallest recession of all time right in here. So even though gold is something that people use and things like that, I just want you aware that gold can go down as well in a volatile market, right? The bear market here, 2022 bear market. Overall, that seemed like a complicated correction to then head higher, but still could be considered bear market. I want you to see during that bear market what happened to gold. It actually trailed down. So this actually can come down with what's going on. I don't want everyone to think like, oh, this has to go up. But we saw a flag. We got that crossing in positive territory last week. You're expecting more positivity, especially on a weekly chart. NVIDIA going back to 901. That's good though. It's good to pay attention to gold, but investment perspective, you would overall say, hey, I probably should have invested at this retest of the 200. This is where I would say, like, this is my trade. Okay, now we're off to the races. Where you really probably want to, you just want to kind of swing trade this, right? So you see this cross up into positive territory above the 200. This is a good investment. Now you can make about, what is that, 25%? And 25%, even if that's the only trade you take all year, 25% is better than the S&P 5. It's better than the keys, better than the S&P. Maybe not the past year, but it's still very, very good. Actually, let's take a peek at NVIDIA on the weekly. Just look at what kind of bar it's making. Big wicking here, coming down to 900. I really just want to see, does this hourly fully cross over here? Yes, it does. As of the bar right now, we're crossing over. That invites more negativity. We still need to break through this trend right here. This is still an uptrend, right? It goes all the way back to the bottom. We have 3 points at this moment. Let me tighten this up a tiny bit here. God dang it, I hate when I can't do this right. All right, there you go. So that's actually where it's at. Able to, you'll see, we're just sitting at $900. Like, we're just sitting at that price point. This is where the battle is between bulls and bears. But is this our handle, guys? This could just be your handle to head lower, right? We got a very small handle right here. We headed lower. We got a very small handle here. Do we head lower? That'll be something to really, really pay attention to. But hey, my fun play is really fun today. My fun play is very fun. If someone wants to do your course, what chart service is needed? I use TradingView. In my course, I teach you on TradingView. I really like it. There is a free option. You can use at least 2 indicators, I believe. And then if you wanted to, use multiple indicators or more indicators, I believe that you can pay $15 a month. All I spend on TradingView is $15 a month. That's the best part. A lot of people will try to get you to download these indicators that are $300 or $600 a year, or this a year or something. It's like, well, if you really want to, gain the skill, get really, really good with the indicators that everyone uses. That's all I did. Cindy, we're praying for you. But yeah, setting up indicators is there. The big thing that I do is first we set them up, and then we talk about them individually and talk about what they are. But a lot of people's courses, I've taken courses, guys. I've taken courses before. Don't think I just learn this stuff out of the blue. I'm just a nerd about it. So when I want to learn something, I get really interested in something. It's kind of one of my habits. I get very, very interested and I keep going. But as far as what the course actually does, the overall goal of the course isn't to teach you what the indicators are. It's why they are important, why they do the things that we do, why we can get trade setups around them. And that's what makes the course so useful, especially for a bear market. Once you really learn these indicators, you can make a lot of money going up. You really can, swing trading and things like that. But when you implement my strategy in, say, a bear market, you can make a ton of money on the way down. A ton. And that's not me blowing smoke up your ass. That's me actually doing the strategy and giving you the strategy that I'm about to use. I'm literally about to use this strategy once the volatility goes a little bit higher. Weirdly enough, this week, I've actually used the strategy. Last week, I used the strategy. Now, I give you where the volatility needs to be for you to use it and see the most success. But I can use my strategy at different times because I know like when things are curling back up and things like that. So really, if you get down the basic free indicators like MACD, RSI, and just moving averages, and then learn a little bit about patterns. We talk about patterns, we talk about support and resistance, we talk about a lot of things. And a lot more people are gravitating towards that course, and I'm hearing some positive stuff. So I'm really glad to hear that. I just want to be helpful. I just want to be helpful and keep you learning so that you can really learn from all of these things. Because the last thing I want, bear markets are known to be like the price action that we've had on the Qs and the SPY in the last few weeks here. Okay, bear markets are known to do this. They trap people to the downside. This is why I was so good. Is because this is really where I shine when the skill takes place. Okay, bear market likes to trap people in one area, trap the bulls in another, trap the bears in another, trap the bulls in another, trap the bears in another, trap the bulls in another, maybe even trap the bears in another one. This is where it really, really matters to understand, and this is where I excel, and that's why I've gotten a lot right over the last few days. This last week has been very profitable. How long does the course last? The course is going to be $100. It's a simple. We keep it. I have a tattoo right here. The energy equation. You can kind of see it. Why is the energy equation important? Well, it's because the energy equation. The reason I have the tattoo actually means that the simplest answer is usually the right one. So when people are trying to sell you a bunch of indicators that are worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and you think that's going to make you all your money, most likely those indicators are just using the MACD. They are just using the RSI. So if you just figure out how to use these, you can do it for free. So duration, of course, I'm just taking that two different ways. It's $100 till the end of the month, and it goes up to $200 because I believe we'll be in a bear market by then. Now, I'm not thinking I'll have to make it more than $200, only if the demand side really goes to the extreme. I want it to be affordable for everyone. I want everyone to have the opportunity to learn this stuff. That's why I just want to leave it at 200. But for the month of March, you can get it for $100. I buy and sell on the same day of trapping. Great. Fancy flavor. That is great. Move like water. Trade like water. We're going to get rocks. Almost every couple of days, you're going to get a trade if we see volatility goes up. Literally. So if you take this course and you get that strategy that I'm personally going to use, I've used it in the last week, but I'm good at it. So I really would encourage you to wait till volatility is higher. I teach you a very simple way to get the risk ranges that I used at first. So I do teach you how to get your own risk ranges. Oh, I'm sorry, Al Pal. I just hit my dog in the face. I'm sorry, buddy. I teach you a way to get those risk ranges. I do. Now, the other side to that is I don't give the most, what is it? The actual, you can look up the equation to do it. You can try to do it yourself, right? You can look it up. You can try to do it. It's just, I found that it took me a long time to figure out how to actually calculate it correctly. That's why I give it for $7 a month, and then we get to talk about it together. Oh, how many hours is the course? I actually have to look that up. I believe it's only 8 sessions. Might have to get out of my own video. Trade soon. And if you guys want, I'll give you guys the breakdown of the curriculum. I'm pretty sure you can see it in the link down in the description, but I'll give you guys a breakdown of the curriculum. All right, let me get to it real quick. Preview curriculum. This is literally all you need to be a good trader. This right here. Using indicators, divergence, and an option strategy in volatile markets. That's what I believe we're going into. That's why I made this course a few months ago, because it's very, very useful. I tell you the times where I use this course. You can see that in the matter of one weekend, you can start to learn this stuff. Now, throughout this course, because this is so simple, if you watch it multiple times, that is where you can see a lot of benefit, because you want to really get that repetition going. That's why we're not necessarily going to be going, let's go really deep into Bollinger Bands. Well, Bollinger Bands aren't the most important thing to be a good trader. I mean, it's a good thing to have on your list. You can use it as a check mark, but it's not the best thing to learn, right? The best thing to learn would be MACD, RSI, moving averages, like those three right there. And I would actually argue maybe not even moving averages. I would rather have support and resistance. So in the first section here, we go over the MACD and RSI. They're very similar indicators, but very different at the same time. We're not only just telling you what this is, we're telling you how to use them together when they become important. Why we look for divergences is something that we go over later on with the divergences here. You notice this one's a lot longer. That's because divergences is one of the most important things in the market. And then we give a little thing on volatility. This is simple. In order to use the strategy, you want volatility higher. Now, this is based on the strategy. So you don't learn too much about volatility here, but you do learn, hey, I do want volatility higher to use this strategy, but I can position myself based on those weekly ranges when volatility is lower, swing trade, things like that. What are weekly ranges? How to get them. So we have that in there as well. And then that's when we come in with the doubling strategy. So this is very encouraged to watch these multiple times. I say it throughout the course all the time. We talk about support, resistance, and gaps. All of these types of things are very, very good to know. And then we base it out at the end with your mentality. Mental and risk management, two very, very important things. These are nothing to gloss over. Like, I know this is only 3 minutes. This is something very important, and I would encourage you for sure to watch the mentality section twice. It'll teach you your mentality that you really have to have going forward. And then risk management, taking profit. This is where we teach you how to take profit with an options play with the strategy, and also the risk management around that, how much money you should be allocating towards it, how much money you should be spending and things like that, where you should be buying, where you should be taking profit. It's a very, very good strategy. Seeing NVIDIA dip to lower levels here, breaking through that area. Let me see what you guys are commenting here. No, not 100 per month. No. It's not a monthly thing. It is a one-time purchase, and you get to take it over and over and over. It is a one-time purchase, Richard. It is not $100 a month. It is not $100 a month. No. The Patreon is $7 a month. I would never charge someone $100 a month to retake my course. No, once you buy it, you have it. That's why I encourage in the videos themselves for you to, make sure you're looking over this stuff twice, because you purchased it. $100 is not saying, oh, I take a course once, I only get it for $100. $7 a month on Patreon is where we overall just give you setups around those weekly ranges throughout the week. We give you the weekly ranges for every single stock that we cover. So you notice, like on Apple here, we don't have any weekly ranges up, right? So the 2 hour, let's just do this. We don't have the weekly ranges up on here. This is the information you can get from Patreon. So actually the weekly range here is somewhere up in this area. And what we say about these weekly ranges, now you know, hey, I don't want to invest in this because this is a big move outside of it and I don't have any divergence. That's what you will learn how to do in my course once we get to the strategy. Very important to understand what the indicators are, what the risk ranges are. But I actually, that actually reminded me, I actually teach you why the risk ranges are what they are and why they are important, right? And that's actually displayed as a bell curve. So we go into it in the course, and you're overall just like looking at this, and we talk about why it is what it is and why it's important. So you learn everything that you're learning. Hopefully you're learning a little bit from me on YouTube, but you just get more in depth. How to pay the amount, just go to the link in the description. It is under the indicators one. How to pay the amount for your session. So if you want to get the course, it's down in the description. One-time payment, $100, and you can retake that as many times as you want. It's going to go up to $200 at the end of March. So when April's rolling around, it's not going to be April Fool's. Maybe for fun, we'll leave it for $100 on April Fool's Day. But yeah, as far as for a session, I'm still thinking about doing individual sessions too, because it would be really nice to, at least that's how I learn. I learn from people. So what I'd really like to do is implement also like, oh, now you can pay also like $20, $25 to get an hour with me where we can talk about these things. Phantom, thank you so much for subscribing. That way, if you do have any questions with the course, I can literally sit with you. You can tell me what stocks to look at, tell me what your thoughts are, tell me what stuff you're struggling with. We can look at all kinds of things for an hour. Leaning towards that. I haven't set that up yet because I don't know if there's a big need for it, but maybe you guys can let me know. Just purchased. Steinway, thank you so much for purchasing. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And don't think that you can't be critical of it, Steinway. Don't think that you can't email me and say, hey, I really don't understand this section. Can you go into it further? You can always send me an email. Throughout the course, you're going to hear me say a bunch of times, I don't want this to be, here's the course, you're gone. I want you to be able to email me. I want you to be able to ask questions. What is a course if you can't ask questions? No matter if they're a good question or a bad question. I would like the opportunity for a $25 one-on-one. Yeah, I'm thinking about giving away like 100 one-on-ones for the month of March for $25 a piece. Checking out your analysis these past couple of weeks. Very good info all around. Straight to the point, no BS. That's the point, Phantom. And I think I've told some of you guys this before, but there was a gentleman who worked for a pretty high up firm in New York who was part of a trading firm. They worked with millions of dollars, and he actually found my channel, and he reached out to me and actually told me, he was like, the things that you're saying are the things that we pay attention to. He's like, most of the time from the technical side, he goes, but some of your fundamental talk, what you're teaching people about rates and things like that, he's like, you're spot on. He literally told me I was spot on. It made me feel very validated, very good. And the reason that's important is because I want to make sure I'm bringing forth good information for you. NVIDIA breaking down to an 890 now. Let's switch back over to the 5 minutes, see how this is selling. Here's that tapering a little bit. Just like barely. So into next week, actually, this is going to be crazy, but into next week, the way that this could go up is if it completes a cup all the way up in here. So if we see extreme bullishness, but really starting to fall off, I might have to get out of my fun play, guys. Let me see, are there any moving averages? I might see if we're able to touch this 50 by end of day. I'm going to see if we can touch this 864, 871 by end of day. Look at that selling come in. 900 was quite the battle. It was quite the battle, but we got it taken care of. My AMD trade is going fantastic. Ooh. All right, guys, you want a trade setup? Hourly divergence, boom. Hourly divergence, boom. Outside of the weekly expected move, outside of the monthly expected move, this is huge. Watch the shorter term, right? Don't be doing this on the short term. Oh, you're back. But that's a good little trade setup. Let me take a second here, say hi to the girls. They just got back. Sorry, guys. Had to say hi to the girls real quick. And now she's getting out of the car seat. She's not happy. Oh, God. I actually used Lux Algo. Thing is like tilted, isn't it? There we go. Sorry to stare at you guys for a sec. I actually used Lux Algo for a minute there. I used it for like 6 months, and then I was like, this isn't the best. I'm not saying it's not the best. It just seems like very similar to if like I noticed that my trading was better when I got rid of it and actually just did MACD and RSI. But if it works for you, I'm not telling you it's bad. I don't think it's bad. I don't want you to think like, oh, Luke's saying it's bad. No, it's fine. If it works for you, it works for you. Just for me, I ended up doing better when I kind of sometimes it was too much info. That's why the course is also very efficient with teaching you some of this stuff. Just because too much info can stop you emotionally from taking a trade as well. It'll make you hesitate. I just do this. All right, let's see if I can get out of this position today. Just need to dip a tiny bit lower to hit my target, and I'm good. I have 864 kind of drawn off here. Now, I actually believe 841 is more probable at this point. It can make a trader lazy. That's relatively true. It's just too much info. It's just a lot, and it makes you hesitate, at least from my experience. I'd be like waiting for so many triggers and so many things, and then a move would happen and the trigger would happen later, and I'd be like, okay, well, if I was doing it, you know, how I see prudently, I would have gotten here. My profit would have been a little bit better. Let me just hit the don't, like, I don't have it pop up my screen. Tried to trade like that for a couple weeks, and I noticed myself just doing a little bit better. So it's not to say it's bad though. Most used time frames: 30-minute, 2-hour, daily. 30-minute, 2-hour daily is what's going to be mostly taught in the course, because that's my golden setup I give you. Apple had the golden setup if you want to go find it for yourself. Apple, not recently, but back when we found this low, this right here is your golden setup. This right here. So if you go back, and we actually go through this on the course, we show you the golden setup. I don't think we show it to you when it was here. I don't believe we show you this one, but I believe we say it is forming. So I think the course was made somewhere around here, but this is your golden setup right here. Once you take the course, you'll know what that golden setup is right in this area. But off that golden setup, look what happens. Kaboom. And then the other golden setup, I don't know if it was on Apple. I believe, oh, it was right here. This is the other golden setup. Right here. And the funny part about the golden setup is if you're very good at this and volatility is high, you actually had a trade here, caught this bounce, took profit, comes down, take a trade here. Now you get the big run with the golden setup. So that's where I made a ton of money. Apple's what I've made the most money off of, probably in my whole trading career. NVIDIA, not a good bar for the day. Still looking at this hourly, just crossed over. See if that holds for the next 10 minutes. You might see a little bit lower price. Not the biggest second bar down. Kind of a fight between the bulls and the bears for the past hour. But yeah, the most used time frames, 30-minute, 2-hour, and daily. So if you want to switch me over to my 30-minute, this is where I'm a good boy. So like something with this 30-minute here, flatness pretty much of the MACD, Not necessarily divergence. I wouldn't even count this. It looks a little bit up. But then you have divergence on the RSI. This tells you could be a pullback and we could see another bounce. Depends. It depends how fast I make money. I am a big believer in taking profit. Okay, I'm a big believer in taking profit. One of the plays that I have going on right now, I'm planning on taking profit today. One of the plays I have, two of the plays actually that I have going forward are for the end of the month. So those two plays I might hold for a week, but the other plays I could get rid of like today. So especially when the price is so trappy like it's been. So here, I'll give it to you like this. So even though I'm buying options that are, say, 2 weeks to a month out or even longer sometimes, this here, I played this move up. Not necessarily in the Qs, but I use the Qs as a point of assessment to then say, hey, this is going to bounce up. Okay. So I take this play up. I made money so fast here, I'm not going to hold this and say, oh, it's going to keep going. No, I made my money. I actually sold probably somewhere around here on the stock that I did trade. So I missed a little bit of upside. Now I see on that same stock I saw divergence. Okay, I play the downside. And guess what? It gapped down. I took profit on this bar right here, this closing bar right there. That's where I took profit. I lost out on some money. That's perfectly fine. I'm profitable. Now, this right here, I play a small bounce. I took a little bit of profit, and I took it a little early because I pretty much broke even on my trade on this downturn. I thought we'd see a bigger pop. That came the next day. That's my fault. But now I can say, okay, once I make money, I take my profit because I'm still expecting this to bounce around before we get some solid bad news like CPI or something like that. I gotta go check if my option actually sold. Not yet. We're getting there. Go down to a 5-minute. We are getting there, though. Actually, this looks like it could bounce. Up 50% on one. Yeah, this is tapering. You see this starting to taper, so I think I'm going to just hop out of this fully. Not saying NVIDIA can't go lower, it's just we could get that reaction up and I don't want it to like deteriorate or anything like that. I literally am breaking even. Like I said, this was a fun play. It's just for fun for the most part. I don't mind losing a little bit of money on it. Pretty much breaking even is perfectly fine with that upward move we saw in NVIDIA first. Yeah, it's still downward pressure here, though. Maybe I'll wait till a good price pops up. Okay, guys. We'll be good traders here. We'll give it one more hour. We'll give it one more hour. Technically, I should be giving it at least one more hour to see if we get another confirmation bar. So this is your breaking of that that curling down of the MACD here. This is your bar. So you want a confirmation bar below that. So if we can get a confirmation here, that'd be great. But we are coming into a base down in here. So I'm expecting to get some kind of reaction around this level, actually. Let me switch to a daily, see where that... Yeah. Okay, so this is it. You haven't lost the 5-day. The 5-day here. So if you stay above that, you can still get positive reactions going forward. Once we lose that, it'd be a little bit more of the potential to drop a little lower, come down into this point here. But for now, you're buying up right at that area. So you really want to see, not seconds. We don't like seconds around here. Really want to see, but it's pretty cool to see that 900 level come as resistance. 30-minute, we're fighting between the bulls and the bears, and then we get that retest. We start to sell off a little bit. This is pretty much your 5-day. You're like right at it at these wicks. You really need to lose the 5-day in order to see that selling really continue. So you have potential for some kind of bounce in here. just waiting for a good price point. Like I'm not taking profit at my target, so I kind of have to just like time this out a little bit. All right, I am going to oof. All right, I'm gonna sell out of this break even. I just don't care enough. It's not enough of a profit gain to play around with it. This would be the important level to break for AMD. This is something on the 2 hour I'm looking for this to break, this little divergence here. This is what I was paying attention to. Since you do have a 2 hour divergence, you do have the potential to roll over the daily up here. The thing that's different between AMD, why I think it's a overall better from a trading perspective, from the technical side, you have a divergence up here on the MACD. You have that I mean, it's very, very slight. It's pretty flat, but you do have that divergence pretty good on the RSI. So if we start to turn around from here, you can come reconnect with the center here, meaning that 20. So this is something I'll be holding. This would be my trade for the month, but I might be out of that and back into it within a week. So I just use that month as kind of a cushion. But you'll notice 5 days right there, so we could see some kind of bounce. Not a good look, though. That is a topping wick there. We'll have to see what happens. See if this 30-minute can go into negative territory. 30-minute goes into negative territory. I'm holding this thing for a while, but really think if this does break down, it's going to break down to this level, get some kind of bounce, maybe even more sustained bounce going into Tuesday. So I might be taking profit, selling, taking profit, selling, buying, taking profit back again, buying, taking profit. I might be flipping back and forth still. Meta, a good one as well going into next week. This will be really cool to see what the weekly range is. I might give it again for next week, because if that weekly range is around this base, or if it's a little below this base, we could get that reaction down going into today, get a reaction up, test the top side of our range, and then see that fall back down early on in the week. So that's something I'll pay attention to. But Meta not looking the best right up in here. This was something on the 15-minute. Look at that divergence right here. This is what you learn in the course, these types of trades. Oh, I'm not going to lie. It feels good to be out of NVIDIA. That was... I mean, I didn't have a ton of money behind it, but it's just like, oof. To drink my coffee. I'm like barely drinking my coffee. How about Webull software? I actually gave Webull a try. I think from my perspective, what's the way to put it? It just didn't click with me, Webull's setup there. So that's all I would say. I mean, I have like Charles Schwab and things like that, but I pretty much think they're very similar. I think a lot of these trading apps are pretty similar, and I think you're fine. You just got to look and make sure you're getting a good price. How you can do that a lot of the time is just kind of look up in here, make sure that it's calculating correctly. NVIDIA was a short. So if you can see why, like I did a fun play. I did a day trade for fun. I never do a day trade. I took a short at the end of the day just to see if we'd see a drop off. This made my option worth 0. I'm dead serious. This made my option worth like 5% up in here. And so I was just like, oh, we're done. We're going to let that run. Good thing we didn't put a bunch of money behind it. Boom, that drop off happened. I actually broke even right here, and then it came a little bit lower, and I could have made a tiny bit, like 5% maybe, or 10% on the overall trade. So I kind of just broke even right here. I just don't want to be a part of any kind of bounce, and then I just lose money for no reason. I might as well just like wait. My other plays are doing really well, and those I'm comfortable with holding. Now I have a little bit more money that I can allocate from my NVIDIA trade here because I broke even. I can allocate that later if we see some kind of bounce. I can put that into the other plays that are really working. I like to do that. I like to take a little trade that can give me a little bit of fuel going forward to get a better position. This thing's finally peeling. I cut my finger like a week ago. I've been waiting for the scab to fall out, or like 2 weeks ago. Video's making a bounce. Yeah, you'd expect a bounce here. Remember how we kind of drew out how this would actually fall down? Falls down to here, get a small bounce, get a retest. Falls down to 842, get some kind of bounce, maybe more meaningful here, back up to maybe test 900. Then we see that really drop out. Once you see it drop below that 841, you're going to target this area. So we have a way to stair step our way down, even on NVIDIA. It's just going to be big swings. Okay, so right now you have big drop off. Now you get some kind of small bounce. Then you get another drop off. You get some kind of bigger bounce, maybe even a test 900. But guess what? Head and shoulders still here at that point. And then you start to head lower. Where's the next point you'd want to pay attention to? Well, it's the next liquidity zone. This base down in here. So it'd be boom, boom, boom. A little bit bigger of a bounce maybe. Then we start to trail down right into this area. So that's overall what I'm thinking would happen if it wanted to be, the perfect stair step down. It's never perfect, guys. It's never perfect. So just be willing to, a lot of people that came into the chat today are saying, hey, I'm trading like water and it's really, really effective for me. That is good. Trade like water. Take profit. If you're green and you have a bad feeling, it's perfectly fine. If you're green, take profit. If it goes up further and you missed out on some upside, who cares? You took profit. There's someone who took the opposite trade and lost 100%. You made 25%. That's kind of the thinking that I have while trading. So my gut right now was telling me, hey, this NVIDIA play, you day traded for fun. It's not, it's kind of rough. I thought about adding more here, but I was like, I don't want it to go to $1,000. So I'll just take the loss. It's not that much money, really. I barely did anything into it. But then it comes down to here, I break even. What do? I'm out. Am I going to say, oh, yeah, the hourly crossed and now it has to go down here? No, we know how markets work. They can take some time to fall back down. So break even, get out, keep my other play. That's AMD. This one I have a month out. I have AMD a month out on the short side. So if I start to see this breakdown, I'm perfectly fine with holding it for a little bit longer. If I get some kind of bounce up, well, now I have that money from the NVIDIA trade that I took today. Even though I broke even, I can allocate more money if I want to up in here based on what the technicals look like. I didn't know you can follow people. Dude, I've never followed anyone on TradingView. I've been just in my own world trading for so long. Sid, I didn't even know you could follow people on TradingView. I'm dead serious. And no, it's not under money making market. That's cool. Shit, I'll look into that. I'll have to clean up. If people are going to start following me on TradingView, I'm going to have to clean up my charts. I have ADHD, so I just like bounce around. Apple broke 172.50. Does it have a close to above it on the 15-minute to continue to be bullish? Okay, so Apple, you want to see if that cup and handle's fully formed. So this actually is pretty good for Apple, right? We get the cup. This might be a sideways little handle. Now you're heading higher. Look for, if you're part of the Patreon, it would really be helpful because you can look for the weekly expected move on Apple. So 174.78 can hold as resistance if we see a bigger move up into this area. And we overall said, people might rotate out of NVIDIA back into Apple, and that looks like that might be happening at this point. So right at this gap fill is where I would look at maybe us halting for a moment. Now, if we want to go higher, here's our cup. Here's our little handle. If we head up to here, well, then we just completed the bigger cup. We get some handle, we can head higher. What happens then? We complete a overall huge cup. We get a handle, we head higher. So even though we have NVIDIA selling off dramatically here, you do have the potential for rotation into these other stocks. Tesla showing you a daily divergence. Apple showing you very extremely oversold conditions, looking for a bounce. You do have ways to go up in other stocks, even though we're going to see NVIDIA come down. And since NVIDIA is such a heavy weight right now, it could pull down the Qs even while Apple and Tesla bounce. So Tesla here, pretty much you're just talking about the tapering going on. She crying. Breaks to the upside. Okay, now we can probably see some positivity. So this here, cup, big handle maybe. That's not the worst thing. That can launch a little bit higher. Same thing as Apple. Now we complete the cup, get a handle to head a little bit higher. Now we complete the big cup in here, head a little bit higher. Maybe you could get some kind of retest. So it's not to say these stocks have to go down. It's just saying, hey, you know, they're at extreme highs on some of them. Some of them are at pretty low levels. Some of them have corrected. So you do have potential setups. Let's look at the VIX. VIX, we're going to have to change our drawings around a lot here. Ooh, okay. Hold on, let me see. Boom. Yeah, let me just clone this bad boy. I mean, something like this going on here, kind of stuck in a range. See if we get a break to the upside, break to the downside. Good chance that we're going to see some buying over the next like 30 minutes or so. But 30 minutes what I like, and you'll notice that we're getting up into positive territory. I'd really like this to remain in positive. 2 hours what I'd look at next. If that's able to curl up, not a good sign. Let's just put it that way. Not a good sign if this 2 hours is able to curl up. That would be not good. Let's put it that way. If that 2 hour curls up, this daily is going to curl up fully. We're going to cross and stay above the 200. I'd really be just looking at this by end of day. I really think what'll end up happening is we could see even more volatility come in. Then we see that kind of like fade by end of day. That way we're still below the 200. We see some kind of bounce on Monday, maybe staying in this range, see a bounce on Monday, and then Tuesday, we actually see this fully come back in. This crossed, so I believe volatility is here, guys. Really want to see the 10-year still holding up. The dollar, maybe that's moving up. Has anyone been paying attention to the dollar? This broke through my little bit of flagging here. I'm not someone who likes to, you know, move my flag so that it works and I find a random point like this and then I make it work. No, this is the flag that I saw originally. I want to see if it can hold below that flag for a few days. If it wants to buy back up into that flag, well, now you have left, you have head, and then you create some kind of right shoulder in here. Liquidity grab right here. Boom. Dollar starts to head up. So that's what I would look for. If it's going to head down, kind of obvious, not the most obvious, but a little bit obvious, right? So this is liquidity in here, good liquidity, left, head. We get some kind of bounce up into this level. So it's kind of like we either do this and go up or we do this and go down. So really pay attention if this starts to break. Because if you're on the wrong side of that, it can get pretty ugly. But I think this is going to start to do this. This is my take. Boom, is what's going to happen up to 105.65. That's just what I think is going to happen. Bad bar for NVIDIA here, but on the daily, you know, you got to look at the bigger side of things, a little bit bigger being the daily. Guess what? This was, at this point, this was just a retest of the 5-day, right? Nothing about this is saying extreme selling. Obviously, this is the first sell-off that we've really experienced. But overall, just a retest of the 5. We're not losing it, so we can see another bounce here. Toby, stop woofing. No woofing. Now, if we just flag here, this would be good, right? Cup, handle, break down further, handle, break down further. Kind of the opposite of Apple at this point. Apple up 2%. Good move. Amazon. Oh, Amazon. 15-minute divergence. Look at that. Solid look here as well. If we were able to catch this, this was a good little trade. Boom. Comes down into this area, 15-minute. We look if the hourly is able to cross. Guess what? If that hourly crosses, you're looking like breakdown, pop up, breakdown again. Watch this level here, this whole thing. I would really just pay attention to 172. If we break below 172, sure, you might get a reaction here for a retest, but most likely you're coming down all the way down to 169, 168. Amazon good. Tesla. Nothing in the shorter time frames to tell you that daily has to cross over. So that's really what you want. You want the shorter time. You want to see that daily divergence forming on Tesla, and then go into the shorter time frames and see if you see something a little bit reversal like. So 2 hour right now, what do you have on the 2 hour? All you have is extremely over, and actually not even extremely oversold. So this could hold up. We have that big divergence across the way here. You could take a stab at this, but with the volatility that's most likely coming next week, a little bit worrisome. But that's how I do things. You'll learn that in the course. AMD already crossed over on the 2 hour. Still, it's just reacting off of its daily 5-day moving average. Meta, what I'm really looking at is for this 2 hour to roll over again. Once this 2 hour rolls over again, if we can get into negative territory, I'm pretty confident that Meta is going to start to roll over next week. As long as this crosses, I'll be convinced that this is going to go into negative territory at this point. But I'm still open to it. I still trade like water. So if this crosses, goes negative, and goes back to positive, we cross down, fill this gap, come back up. I will be watching for this to cross down again. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's just going to go down because I think it is. No, I still follow the technicals so we can get another move higher. Especially if we close where we're at, that top side's going to spread out. We could get towards that monthly expected move up here on Meta. And then you could see a big reaction up to here. And then that firm resistance comes in. Google, really interested to see what it's doing. That's a breakout there. Google is one that we were talking about. Does have a 2 hour divergence across the board here. Okay. So that's something to pay attention to. You do have that big divergence here. Then you want to pull up the daily. A lot of the time, the 2 hour likes to roll over the daily. We do have resistances above us. So I'm going to get rid of this channel we've been in. We violated the channel. But is this just a reaction to the 20 on the daily to head lower? This is negative trend at this point. Any pop higher, even if this wants to cross, look for if that rolls back down into negative territory. This is where you can start to pile up some stuff. But right now, you're above the 200. You're curling up in positive territory. This is a swing trader's dream right here. A swing trade investor. It'd just be pops up, they wait for that to curl back down, and then they get out. But if this wants to, it could pop up for quite some time. We have a gap up here and things like that. So there is potential here for an upward move as you are above the 200. We start to see that close below it again, then we'll talk a little bit differently. Netflix was one that I was watching. It hit my price target. Good divergence up here. If you're looking for trade setups to go long-term short or anything like that, not telling you to do it, but Netflix would be one that I'd be paying attention to. Divergence on the MACD, triple divergence on the RSI at the same time, coming up to my price point up here. My take profit, 620.83. Look at that. I didn't think it would get all the way to the high, and it didn't, but it is above the 200. Very hard to find shorts in the, unless you're good at it, but very hard to short a market when it is above the 200. Apple's solid reaction. Damn, I had a bullish Apple trade going on into next week too. I just didn't want to catch a falling knife, but I had this trade. That would have been very good for me today. Unlucky. Palo Alto, something that I'm paying attention to is a 2 hour actually. Seeing this curl up in positive territory would be big for Palo Alto. You still run the risk that this is just some sort of huge flagging or something like that. So I would just create this for myself. If I take any positive trade here, maybe look if any of these connect. Not really. So I'll take the highest one. This could bounce all the way up into this area. Now what this would do is this is still a good bounce, but you're flagging. Boom, like this. Boom, like this. Start to break down to lower levels. Palo Alto, mainly I'd be more looking for some kind of, divergence in this zone down here. Microsoft, we said there was some hacking news. Someone came in and said there was some hacking news. Not a lot going on there right now. So we did kind of give the final breakdown here, something on the SPY that I'd pay attention to. Look at this 2 hour divergence we got. Okay, so this is something you can really pay attention to for the rest of your day before our Saturday or Sunday video where we give you guys, some info about this stuff. But 2 hour divergence up here at the top side of our wedge. We weren't able to hold above it. That is huge. That is a huge signal. Struggling to get some selling in. Maybe we want to wait for some news. This could still trickle higher. Wait for this to confirm, but look at that divergence in the short price action here between these two most recent highs. You do have that divergence, which means potential to consolidate. And guess what? That would cross somewhere around here. So we're really paying attention if this breaks going on into like next Tuesday. All right, I haven't been reading your comments. I'm so sorry. 97 watching and only 74 likes. Give him a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Not bad. Google didn't drop as much as Nvidia AMD this morning. NYT, you say it's smart to buy like S&P 500 SMCI, I guess. Just in my trade. Okay, so you're saying should you just like buy S&P because it's just sitting on the side pretty much? If you buy S&P at this level with this type of technicals, one, you probably need to learn a lot more about technicals. Okay, one, you need to learn more about technicals. This isn't necessarily where you would want to take a trade. Now, when you see where's something good? Where's something where you could take a trade? Let's go find a trade here, okay? All right, so let's take down in here. Let's take this consolidation in here, okay? So right here, we see this cross up, boom. We see it get into positive territory. Maybe you don't even take a trade here. Maybe you don't. You want to make sure this is positive, not triple topping, anything like that. You see that consolidate, come down in below the moving averages, but then the next day you see that cross into positive territory. You know this is a bullish run. Why do you know it's a bullish run? Well, because the VIX is below 20 at this point, which tells you there is bullishness in the system. VIX was below like 16 at this point. So there's some bullishness in the system. Okay, so this is where I would more say, yes, okay, this would be an okay trade, a good probability of some upside. And then you can just ride those little waves up. But you'll notice you'll get these little divergences in a bullish time. That's why you want the volatility higher to go negative. So you could treat this as a swing trade or trade a 2 hour, boom, 2 hour, boom, or hold that a little longer because you didn't lose the 20. You can really just trade this all the way up until you see definitive divergence when it's getting tight. What are we seeing? Definitive divergence, and the price is really tight in this wedge. So smart to buy the S&P here? No. Smart to buy the S&P here? Yes. Smart to buy the S&P way back when we were talking about buying the S&P for the next big run was right down in here. And actually, S&P was the one that was a little complicated here. If you guys remember, S&P was the one that did not have divergence at these lows. It didn't have divergence at these lows, but we saw divergence on Apple. We saw divergence on the Qs. We saw divergence on plenty of other things. That's when NVIDIA had its breakout to the upside, somewhere around this area up in here. So we could just say this overall looks pretty good on other charts, so I can possibly invest in the S&P here. I can look at my daily chart and go back to this area here and see what was happening. Well, let's go point this out real quick. Back in this area, we didn't necessarily have that divergence on the MACD. We had kind of a flatness, right? But we had that flatness on the RSI at the same time. So what I would say is, okay, flatness and flatness, let me go look at some other things. The Qs, okay, this one's actually a little bit down, flat on the RSI, so I need evidence if this is really going to bounce. Well, let me look at the stocks that make up a lot of these. Well, maybe I'll look at one of the most important ones. What is the most important stock telling you at this level? Well, it's telling you momentum is dying out. We have actually a triple divergence. If that gets into positive territory, that would be a very, very strong move. So this would be a good point to invest because your probabilities of a big bounce here are very, very high. You have a wedge, you have triple divergence, you're very close to positive territory. This would be where I would take that trade, right? This is where I would be like, okay, this is a good place to invest. Now, what'll happen is this will explode up to here, and then people will say, here, is this a good point to invest? Yeah, it's perfectly fine if you think it can go higher, but would I suggest that? Well, I would say I missed out on the move. I probably wouldn't participate too much in this. Now, once you create that divergence, we were mentioning this on Apple. What do? Well, this is what you guys are asking right now. This is where you guys are asking if you should buy. Now, what's happened to Apple over the last few months? What happened over the next few months in Apple once we saw this signal here that we mentioned on this channel, divergence up here, divergence on the RSI, well, we dropped off. We got a solid bounce. We dropped off. So this here is where you could say, yeah, this might be my last chance to invest. I get that green bar. Okay, maybe I take it on the buy signal here. I ride this up, go to the top Bollinger, see that weakness come in, closing below those. Now I have the potential to cross over into negative territory. When you cross over in negative territory, this is something we talk about in the course a lot. That volatility, that extreme selling can really escalate. So boom, we see that selling come in. We get a bounce. Boom, we see that selling come in. So all of these types of things are good to know from an investment perspective. Good place to invest, bad place to invest, good place to invest, triple divergence, bad place to invest. Well, and by bad place, I mean high probability of a solid bounce, high probability of a solid bounce, high probability of a pullback or reversal in trend because they're at the same time, high probability of reversal trend, high probability of a sell-off. Curls back down in negative territory, high probability that we're going to see more dramatic selling, high probability we're going to see upside. So in Apple currently, you're just breaking down. Apple is warning the overall market like, hey, this is not good. This is very, very bad. We could get some kind of reaction out of Apple. I'm not saying it can't. We're stating how 30-minute down here. Just want to watch this for the shorter time frames because once this actually does roll over, if it goes down into negative territory, that could be very bad. You're not getting, on the 30-minute, not getting a ton of structure here is a little bit worrisome because if we get excited up to here, this will be in positive territory, which is a good thing. But this zone here is very important. You notice we break through a zone, we test the top of it, we break through further, we could test the top of this, break through further. What that would allow you to do is on this 2 hour, if it can extend for some time, you could see a bounce in the future. Okay, so if this wants to bounce over the next few days and then curl back down, well, this MACD is going to go like this, and then you have a divergence. So I just really like divergence. I like high probability plays. What happened with NVIDIA? Let's go back over to NVIDIA, hitting down to 891. What we were saying is really pay attention to 900. 900 is going to be very, very important. You notice we just went and tested that again in the last 30 minutes here. I almost pulled my line. That would have been bad. So here you go. So far, rejected off the 900, rejected around the 900. Now we have to see if that wants to go down deeper. This still could build up over time. This is why I got out of my trade, by the way, because if this just takes its time like this and it doesn't drop till Monday, I lose all my money. What's coming? Billionaire, tell me. Tell me what's coming. Tell me what's coming at 2:30. Wee Street, awesome how you answer questions. Yeah, I feel like a lot of streamers that do stock stuff, I've watched them before. They don't answer a lot, and I understand that. Like if the chat really gets moving, it is very, very hard to keep up. And so eventually, you know, if we do get a bunch of people in here, you might have to super chat or something like that. So I for sure see your question if you have one. But I'm in the overall thinking of if I see a question, I'm going to really try to answer it. I did notice Lucipi saying what happened to NVIDIA. At this point, we can look for any kind of news published on here. Intel back to Stereo Labs set stage for NASDAQ debut, aiming to capitalize AI boom. Beyond NVIDIA, these companies are making money. Nothing bad given to me by TradingView at this point. But what we were talking about in this area is, hey, this is a strong move. We know there's a ton of calls at 1,000 and 1,300. If those people just start to, if some of those people take profit, we can get that selling to come in. If we start to drop low enough, well, these people can start to go underwater fast. 1,300, you can go underwater really, really fast. And I think those people understand that and they made a play. I think they made a play. I think they are the ones who sold this out, and that's what caused this selling. Now you have the people who have $1,000 calls going underwater really fast. That piles on the selling. Now you're getting towards the 900 calls, which is very, very important. And that's where you're going to see a little bit more of a battle because these people at 900, they want to push it up here to break even or make money. And then the people that have puts down here really want to break it down further so they can make money. So 900 is very, very important. And the longer that we remain below 900, over the end of this day, the further down we can push. And that's why I do have marked off 864.83 and 841.76 for today. I would have loved to, oh, God dang, of course I missed the daily expected moves for today, because that would have been so awesome if the daily expected move was like right here. You could have gotten a great trade probably up into here. No real divergence on or anything like that, but I mean, there's someone out there that would YOLO play this if it was outside that weekly or that daily expected move for Friday. One thing I'd say for an actual bounce in NVIDIA is 5-minute divergence does matter a little bit when you're looking for those little bounces, especially in a dramatic sell-off. You can see, first of all, this is kind of consolidating at this point. And then secondly, I mean, we are seeing that tapering come in a little bit, but really look for a small 5-minute divergence down here before you even think about this bouncing, because the selling is continuing pretty damn good. All right, so I'm going to run through all the stocks again. I know we kind of just did. Yes, and it still could climb higher next week. So let's talk about how NVIDIA could go higher next week. Let's really look at a 30-minute. That's what you guys want to know, what I really watch. I really like my 30-minute charts. Those 1,300 calls are toast. One thing, 8 chai. We did not see those increase over the last 24 hours, which tells me that it might be 1 or 2 people actually making that trade together. They actually could have sold here early in the day, because if you think about it, if I bought 1,300 calls here, price went up and then price gapped up again, I'm going to be profitable. I'm going to be green. So those people actually might be the reason it's selling off, and that's maybe going to scare out your 950s, your 900s. That's why it's very important if it starts to break below here, these 900s can go underwater really quick. 900 is the next big call wall. So if this remains at this level, which is very, very good, by the way, to consolidate below that resistance and then see that break down, we can see more selling go on into today. So really, I really think, 8, I really think that those 1,300 people took profit. In my opinion, the AI chip boom is still in its early phase, and that's definitely possible. We see a lot of these AI companies coming out, and the more of them that come out, the more the sector can grow. And then at the same time, a lot of the time when these sectors grow, like AI grows very, very quickly, a bubble just means that all the little guys get wiped out, all the lesser value guys get wiped out, and then that money can then inflow into NVIDIA. So we actually could see NVIDIA go higher, get a split, anything like that. Not saying it has to crash down, but I do think that we are going to see some kind of turmoil over the next few months. I'm not saying NVIDIA is a bad investment, like at lower prices. I think it is a good stock. I just don't think it is worth $1,000 right now. That's all I would say. World, thank you so much. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Norman, I'm sorry I missed your subscription, Norman, but thank you so much for being here. Really, really do appreciate it. I might have been talking to my girls. They just got back from the doctor. Costco. We could look at Costco real quick. I haven't looked at Costco in a minute. Holy. I do not trade around earnings, guys. That's what I say. Now, you have flatness of the RSI. You have a MACD that has the divergence, right? So I would really look for my bottom Bollinger here. It's not to say this is a bad short. I would just give yourself some time. We can see bounces with this, right? We have some levels that we could have bounced from. Could have bounced in this pocket here. Could bounce from this level here. Could bounce here with this high right in here. So I would really target the bottom Bollinger and then see if that gets some kind of reaction there. But overall, earnings, sure, your risk to reward is maybe your play. Maybe you bought this before earnings. That would be the main thing I would say, but I don't trade around earnings. I've been beat up by it for too long. Yeah, holy crap, what a beating. 7.63%. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to a 30-minute. Just look at what the overall market's doing. We're going to go through some of these stocks here. SPY breaking down again, coming into an area that's very important. Okay, so this is your cupping. Now let's see if we get that handle. And thank you, Amin, for subscribing. See if we can head down a little bit lower. We can cut through this gap, go fill this one. Doesn't mean we have to break down. Okay, this can base out here, and we can make another move higher to get this this lower high. We can make another move higher to go up and set up a new high. We are still within this wedge. Be very careful, because most likely we're going to drop down to here. Then we're going to bounce, and then people are going to get faked out up in this area. So still have some fake outs. We've been calling them pretty well. This one we caught. This one we caught. This one we caught. This one we're catching right now. You guys, I don't want to toot our horn, but we are 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4. Come on, that's pretty good. But you just have to be careful up in here. This trap, very, very worrisome. You do have divergence down here on the 30-minute. You have that divergence flat again on the MACD, a little bit up. So that's where I would look at a 2-hour, see if this is able to curl over. If this 2-hour curls over, it's not looking good. This is a triple divergence on the MACD and a small divergence here on the RSI at the same time. Boom. Once you do get that 2-hour to cross over, you want to look at the daily. Daily's already crossed, and you got divergence across the board. This looks really bad for the SPY. I'm just going to tell you that right now. This looks really, really, really bad for the SPY right now. All the signals that we are seeing here, all of the signals that we are seeing here, while everyone's asking me, should I buy stocks? Should I buy this? Should I invest? That is all bullish sentiment in my mind. That is happening here. Now, I'm going to ask you, what kind of sentiment did we experience here? This is where everyone was calling me a psychopath for saying that we were going to bounce. Oh, this thing is going to keep falling. Everyone was literally like, no way this bounces. Boom, it bounces. So you're seeing very similar signals that you saw at the low down here, and now you're seeing it up here. I would just encourage you to work on your mental a little bit, because you're getting caught up like a I don't want to say normal trader. What's the word? Ineffective. You're going to be more effective over time if you can start to see this and just say, hey, I'm going to hold cash. Yeah, I'm going to hold cash. You know? Like, even if you don't want to short, you don't have to short these things. It's very hard to short these things. Bull runs, it's the hardest thing to short in the market. What's a lot easier to short? A bear market. And that's why I have a course. And it's $100 the whole month of March. No, I'm dead serious though. Like, you wanna trade back and forth, short and get calls, and short and go back and forth, every couple of weeks or every month. The course is very, very good for that. And there's a part in the course about your mentality that we go over. The Qs starting to confirm that divergence as well. So similar thing to the Qs down here, slight divergence. Everyone thinks it's going to hell in a handbasket. We say it's going higher. Everyone calls us crazy. Guess what? Boom, it goes higher. Sure, we just said we wanted more structure in this overall move, but hey, we were still right on this call. Now we're saying right here, okay, you're seeing very similar things you saw down in this area, just the opposite direction. Boom. A lot harder for people to hit the sell button. Remember that. That's one of the things in the stock market. It's very hard for people to hit the sell button. People like to buy, right? So when you see this base out, you're going to see that V-shaped recovery. But when you start to see these divergences up here, you're going to get wonky price action, okay? Because it's very hard to hit the sell button. Apple on the daily, strong move, but this is still worrisome. You're reacting up to the 5-day moving average on the daily. If you do get a big reaction from here, look for this to be some resistance. That could be pretty bad. What caused NVIDIA to drop today? I believe it was those 1,300 calls. I believe they just took profit, and then that is causing some algorithmic selling because you're losing some percentages pretty fast. That's just my belief. Maybe we get some news this weekend. Apple shorter time frames, yeah, you don't want to play with it too much. Now, this one's cool, okay? So you do have a daily. This is their first check here. We have a daily divergence up here on Amazon. Amazon has really exploded as well. We see that divergence down here on the MACD. So we go into a 2-hour here. Let's look here. We don't have divergence, but we have a 2-hour curling over right next to negative territory, right by a base. We have the potential here to break down over time, get that big head and shoulders in the grand scheme of things by going like this. Then we bounce up, boom, boom, boom. This looks pretty good. Now you just want to say, hey, shorter time frames, this is just what you want to do to get a good position, right? Now you want to make sure that this MACD is rolling into negative territory, but overall you could say, hey, this is a pretty sturdy lower high. We actually could break down to here, get some kind of bounce, get another lower high, start to drop down. So this, good first sign that Amazon is cracking. Tesla, something paying attention to right now, 30-minute divergence. Actually, you do have a 30-minute divergence, little bit of a chance to bounce on the 2 hours. See if this is able to actually roll up. Right now, rejecting. That's important to pay attention to. Rejecting. I would really just be patient with Tesla. See if this daily is able to curl up. This daily starts to curl up positive territory. We can see a stronger move out of Tesla. We can come react all the way up to this zone up in here to 206. So really, if you're just patient with this, you might be able to catch a move to 206 eventually. NVIDIA on the daily, that is a mean bar. Dang it, I should have kept my shorts. No, I'm fine with it. This is a mean bar, not a lot of pullbacks in this overall move, right? We've had a little one here, and then we bounce right back up. So just a retest of the 20. That could happen again. Okay, that could happen again, especially if we do it before CPI. We could see a wick here and start to go higher, maybe hit that $1,000 price point. So I'm not saying the reversal has to happen now. It's just really, really looking like it. 2 hours, someone said that this just crossed. Let's pay attention to that. Just crossed on the 2 hour. This tells you that most likely some kind of pullback, some kind of correction is coming. This here, I would really just target liquidity zones like this. Okay, I can see some kind of bounce down here around 780, 775. That's where I would look if I break through that level. Really just looking like this gap fill at 675. So that could be your correction. The way that you'll know if NVIDIA is going to go higher is if it's able to hold up a little bit higher. If this actually breaks down to here, you have potential for this to happen, this MACD to curl down, curl back up into positive territory, and then curl back down. That would give you this here. Now, if it is able to hold up at higher prices, say this liquidity here, 795, 800, if we break down to somewhere like this and curl back up, well, then now we're not going to dip as low, and we might actually see another strong move to get to 1,000 and see that divergence in the future. So I want to give you guys both sides for NVIDIA, but we expected this today. We gave you this at the beginning of the week, 864.83. What is that? That is the top side range. We gave you guys the top side range on purpose. It makes total sense for NVIDIA to want to land here because it's outside of this, and 68% of the time we do land back within this white line here. Okay, so it makes total sense. No $1,000 NVIDIA as of, I would say, the next 24, like the next trading session. We can get surprises. We're just reacting off the 5-day. Perfectly fine to get those surprises. It's fine. But at that point, once we do reach 1,000, I'll really be looking at those weekly ranges. So do join the Patreon, guys. $7 a month, you can get the weekly ranges for NVIDIA. And if you want something to trade in a bear market, NVIDIA, you can probably make a shitload of money. AMD, one that I'm watching, this already curled over on its 2 hour, slight 2 hour divergence here. Want to pull up a 30-minute here. We were overall talking, I think it was like a 15, but you do see that 30-minute divergence up here. Boom right here. And boom on the RSI at the same time. Okay, let me look at my daily. Is this going to roll over? Guess what? The thing with AMD is this is pretty much a perfect trade here. Flatness of the MACD, slight divergence on the RSI. This is kind of what you want to see. This could actually react all the way down to the 20 for sure. If we lose that, I really think we might be heading towards this gap fill down at 164, 163. Meta, something on the daily, we're getting rejection bars right where we expected, outside that weekly expected move and right below that monthly expected move. This is really where I thought that this would see some struggle. This is a trade that I'm personally taking, and I'm waiting for this 2 hour to confirm. I'm waiting for this 2 hour to really roll over into negative territory. I have divergence across the board here on the 2 hour, right? Flatness of the RSI down here. But now I have that little 2 hour divergence right between these highs. Good sign that we're heading lower. Let me check a 30-minute to get into a position. Well, guess what? I have a tiny little divergence here. Look at that. There's my entry point right there. There's my entry. Now I can hold that for a month and see what happens. Tesla and Apple, they could have. It depends on what people are rotating into. I truly believe people are rotating out of NVIDIA and into Apple right now. That might happen with Tesla as well. Powell, thank you so much for subscribing. Really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing, doing all the things that you guys do. You guys are always great. Something that, ooh, okay, it happened, guys. So the 2-hour did curl up. We can see this go extreme right now, even though it's at overbought territory. We can see this go extreme. If you're bullish, you want to be very careful. Look at this. This is our first check marks for our crash signals. Closing bar above the 200, crossing of the MACD in positive territory. This is not looking good. The last signal that you know that an overall crash or bear market is here to stay, look for this 50 to get above that 200. That's your overall signal. When the 50 starts trending up for quite some time, that we're in that bear market. So buy the fear, sell the greed. People got really greedy this morning. I'm going to tell you that right now. People got really greedy this morning. VIX really pumping up. You say fear. There's still not a lot of fear in this market, guys. There's not. But look at that curl up in positive territory. If you ever wanted a warning signal, this is it right there. Sure, we can see bounces. We can still see NVIDIA get to 1,000, but this is telling you, holy crap, be very, 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 very careful. HGX, this broke to the upside. I've been paying attention to the housing sector's divergence up here. I know I don't talk about this a lot, but this divergence is very, very steep. So if this actually can roll over, get into negative territory, you see how steep this divergence is. It would not be a good sign for the housing sector. We actually might see this start to break down over time. So that's not good. The dollar, something I'm paying attention to. Well, let's see that flagging. Are we able to hold below this flagging? I don't like to change my flags to make them fit. I place my flag and I leave it. So is this able to buy back up while we're outside that Bollinger? I'm at least looking for a retest of the 5, but for now, if this breaks to the upside, you could definitely say we're going to hit my target up here. 105.65 is what I'm overall targeting. So really wanted to pay attention to that. TLT, we're seeing a slight move up, but we're coming up into that trend line here. So we could see that resistance come in, which means rates could actually go higher. Boom, rates could go higher here. So if this wants to kind of be like some kind of correction and consolidation here, people getting excited saying there will be rate cuts, boom, we see that thing rocket up. I'm still paying attention to my 4.362. I think that the banking industry, the banking sector, I think they're under way more struggle than we know. I really, really think that the amount of how Jerome Powell is trying to get us not to worry about it, but also saying that small banks are struggling and kind of just like glossing over the fact that big banks will buy them. Very, very scary. Not good things going forward. And just so you guys know, people are buying calls. Yeah, this right here. People are buying calls right now. We have a 0.846. So people are still bullish. Someone said, buy the fear, sell the greed. People are still greedy right now. People are still greedy at this moment. So we can see this keep dropping. But we want to be open, trade like water. Everything that we've been talking about for the last few days has been working. So let's not change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, now we're maybe going to get this actual retest that gives us that little right shoulder. So if we want to head down from here, see if that's able to bounce up. If we're going to head higher, pay attention to the 30-minute. This is going to cross up into positive territory. We're going to take it out, not really make a divergence with this, right? We're just going to take it out. That would be what I'm looking for here on NVIDIA. All right, guys, so I have to head out, but I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. Really, really, I know there was a lot of questions around Patreon and the course and things like that. You see the volatility that is coming right now. This is going to be the best time to buy that course for $100. It really will help you out in a bear market, especially the strategy I give you. Actually, no, the strategy I give you will give you some of those setups. You will be able to be aware of them. The real gain from that course is if you just take it as very simply be like, I am going to learn this. I can watch these multiple times and I can always send Luke an email if I have a question about that course. $100 until the end of the month here, and then it's going to go up to 200. So I really want to encourage you guys to get that. Very, very good. And you're going to learn why we pay attention to divergence, why we pay attention to the center line, why we pay attention to how both of these are reacting at the same time. So thank you guys so much. Claps. Thanks, Dave, for the claps. Really appreciate you guys being here, always supporting me and always wishing me good vibes with my baby girl. So Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. All right, look out for my video tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we're going to give you those daily ranges for Monday and Tuesday. Very, very important days for the market. Thank you guys for being here. Have a good weekend. Good luck with trading the rest of the day.